Hello, everyone. It's me, Captain Logan, and joining me, as always, is my fantabulous chat moderator and producer, DJ Martinez.
Hello, everybody. How's it going?
How's it going, folks? Once again, I have accidentally forgotten to change words on the screen, and it says rapid fire news. We're not going to do rapid fire news. We're going to do one piece of news and then any other news that people want to bring up. So I'm going to fix that real quick. Our lead-in topic tonight is about the Kraven movie. And we'll talk about that for just a couple of moments, and then we're going to open it right up for Q&A, folks. And that's why at this very moment I am typing "Ask Me Anything!" exclamation point.
Well, real time.
Look at that.
Real time here.
I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight on said Captain Logan show. This is what? Show number 264. We're just moseying along here. 14 already after the big 250, and we're back to twice a week. So we'll be back with you again on Thursday night. We'll see if any other insane, crazy news happens. Last night was CinemaCon, which I had never heard of, but is apparently a convention where Warner Brothers dominates and shows off their whole movie slate, or at least that's what happened this year. I'm getting claustrophobic here. I'm going to have to open my window up a little bit. Look, I'm so claustrophobic. Okay, I fixed it now. See, I had to make DJs kind of scrunched because we're still in the Stone Age and using Skype, and I'm thinking about finally moving over to something else, because here's what happens. I'm using a secondary camera so the DJ can see me. Inside baseball, nobody cares. I have to do a 2-camera setup so that DJ can actually see me. And because I'm doing that, I am in this tiny box, look at this, right next to DJ's head, and if I have him in the normal aspect ratio, you're going to see me twice on the screen. So I have to make that smaller, and
yeah, it crops off the screen, yeah.
Yeah, and it crops off the screen, and it makes DJ not centered, and I'm sure that'll drive him crazy if he goes back and plays this back, but he doesn't do that, so that's good. Oh no, now he's centered again. He's moving back and forth like this. So, but no, I feel like I'm in a box. Do you remember? You ever seen Hook?
I have once.
Do you remember the Boo box?
Yes, it's horrifying.
It's horrifying.
It's scarred children everywhere. I didn't see it as a child, luckily. Saw it as an adult.
That's what we did in the 90s with children's films. Just tried to make children absolutely terrified. It's why I'll never watch Matilda again. The kid with the chocolate cake.
They just did a Netflix version of that. That was a music. It was based on the musical, not based on the book. But yeah, it was pretty fun.
Oh, is it any good? Is it terrifying?
No, it's not as gross. Like, that movie feels like an 80s movie, even though it's a 90s movie.
It does.
Matilda feels like a straight up gross 80s movie. I don't know why.
It's got the sensibilities of something like The Witches, yeah?
Yeah, probably because it's same author, but it's probably because it's directed by Danny DeVito.
I guess it didn't even occur to me. That makes a lot of sense. Well, that's what we learned is that Danny DeVito. Did you say Danny DeVito?
Yeah.
Is that true? I know he's in. Isn't he in that movie?
He
directed
it.
Since I was a kid.
Crazy. I figured that out like just recently.
Okay, so what we've learned is that Danny DeVito should neither get to write, direct, or star in films that are aimed at or merchandised for children, because that plus The Penguin and Batman Returns made us all as children wish that we were never born and never children, and as adults made us wish we weren't having children. At least, if we decided to show them things from our childhood. I wonder, I can't think of an example where I've done this, but have you ever, and I think your kids, you obviously don't have any kids as old as mine, but so I wonder if you'll go through this, but have you ever had a thing that you went back to that you wanted to show your kids because you loved it a lot when you were a kid, but you went, oh, this is going to absolutely traumatize my kid, and I didn't remember that it was this scarring of a film? Has that happened yet?
They're only 2 and 4 right now, but I did show them. No, and it's different. It's weird, right? Because there's that stage when they're kids where they're small enough that you can kind of show them anything, and because they don't know anything or they won't understand anything. And then there's an age where you have to pull back a little bit. So I showed my son Neverending Story when he was like 2, and he was just looking at like pictures on the screen.
That's got some creepy imagery and stuff.
Yeah. But he was fine at 2. But I'm sure like now, if I showed it to him like 5 to 6, that might freak him out more. So I don't know. Because yeah, Grace was looking over me like, what are we watching? This is horrifying.
No, that's true. Before your brain develops and you get certain levels of comprehension, you can handle more stuff when you're real little. And then as parents, we're not thinking as much. I mean, we're trying to, but sometimes we don't appreciate or understand, or we kind of forget about brain development, right? So you'll show your kids something that they had no problem with at 3, and then you'll show it to them again at 7. It'll traumatize them, or they'll have nightmares. You're like, well, you were fine with that when you were really little. And the kid will be like, look, I don't even remember that. I'm 7 now.
Yeah, I was just looking at colors on a screen. But now I understand what's going on. It's terrifying.
Yeah, they're still getting the concept of that character is not just like a blob moving around, but is supposed to be a person, and there's like a plot that you're supposed to follow. This will be something that you'll probably have, DJ, when your kids get a bit older, because I've had this with all of my kids when they get to a certain age now, where you'll have this day where you almost like want to throw a party or a plot or something when your kid starts finally understanding plot points in a film.
Yeah.
When they start going, oh, this is what's happening, or they're or getting like any degree of subtext whatsoever, but even before that, just kind of basic the comprehension of, oh, that, like the other day we were watching something and Freddie goes, that character is suspicious. I don't trust that guy. And I'm like, good, you're not supposed to trust that guy. He's going to do something. What were we watching? I can't remember. But anyway.
Real suspicious character.
Everybody, thanks so much for tuning in to the Captain Logan Show, whether you're watching live or after the fact. We sure appreciate you if you are turning in at this very moment. As we're broadcasting in our tiny boo boxes, we'd like to ask you to help us drive the conversation forward throughout the show. Keep the narrative progressing, because, look, we just didn't do our homework, and we're going to need you guys to help us improvise the entire 2-hour show. So we're going to do a lead-in topic at the beginning, and then during that or after that, feel free to leave a super chat in any dollar amount that guarantees that we'll talk about your subject. Whatever you want to talk about within reason. Doesn't have to be about the lead-in topic. And let's not talk about the fact that Kraven is going to be rated R for 2 whole hours. We'll talk about some other things as well. Feel free to bring up other things that are in the news, whether I will end up knowing about them or not. You can catch me up on stuff. I've been reading about some of the stuff from CinemaCon. It's crazy. It's like that's the new, like, E3 this year. And I realize that E3 is about video games, but E3 gets canceled, and then the CinemaCon thing happens. I've never heard of that before, and all of a sudden there's all this stuff coming out from last night about movies. I'm like, well, I wish we could have had that every year, because movies I care more to talk about, and people care more about me talking about. Because they're not doing a video game show, nobody shows up.
Well, yeah, and we've already got a couple super chats and quite a few pre-written, so people have thoughts.
Yeah, well, we'll see whether they're positive, negative, or neutral here in just a little bit. If you don't want to leave a super chat, you certainly don't have to do that. We appreciate you just hanging out with us. And if you would like to still participate in the show, you can leave a regular question in the live comments there, and make sure to tag DJ Martinez, because he's got one job. And I could be doing it, but again, I'm lazy, I'm not prepared. It's much easier to just force someone else to do it against their will. So would you kindly write that at DJ Martinez, at the Boo Box. DJ will respond to any of these things and more. Okay, so this article comes from IGN, and we learned just today, or maybe or last night if you happen to be at CinemaCon, I guess, that Kraven the Hunter... Oh.
CinemaCon is the Winamon.
Yeah, so I had this set up to show you guys the article, but it's not working now, so I'll just read it to you. Kraven the Hunter will be Sony's first R-rated Marvel movie. Actor Aaron Taylor Johnson, who plays the title role in Kraven the Hunter, revealed in a pre-taped greeting to CinemaCon that it will be Sony's first R-rated Marvel movie. The studio's Spider-Man and Venom movies, as well as Morbius, have all been rated PG-13. DJ, what is your immediate response to this news?
Well, you told me this earlier, and I was like, wow. So Venom, Carnage, PG-13, but Kraven, that warrants the R. That what? Like you could have. I could understand Venom because he's so big that he would do fine even if it was rated R. because you're like limiting the audience. And we know R-rated movies do way better than they used to. We've proven it with Logan and Deadpool at this point, but still, you're still limiting your audience a little bit. But Venom could get over that. Can Kraven? You don't want to limit Kraven's audience at all because it's already like this fraction of the Spider-Man audience. Like who? I don't know.
This strikes me as a pivot. Don't you think? Pivot! I think that's a Friends reference, and references are always better when you explain them. I think what's going on here is Sony is responding to Morbius's not great, that is an understatement, performance at the box office and going, oh, okay, these things need to be really hard-edged and violent like John Wick in order to succeed now, where the two Venom movies, maybe what they're thinking is those movies were successful on character alone or title alone, and it wasn't even as much, and honestly this is kind of what I think, but like wasn't even as much about the content so much as just it's Marvel's most popular character, and they didn't think that until Morbius comes out, and then in the public eye they're pretending like it's popular and it's successful, and they're crazy enough to re-release it in the theater based on memes and stuff. And the company line seems to be, oh no, Morbius did great. Let's give it a steelbook and everything. And then they're behind closed doors. They're going, we got to do something else with this, with these movies. So Kraven, we're finally going to do what everybody said we should have done with the Venom movies and make it more hard-edged in the first place. Now, it is possible that I'm completely off base and wrong about that, because Sony also seems to really drink their own Kool-Aid. I mean, there is kind of the question of, are they having a different conversation behind the closed doors than they are in the way they're talking about their stuff publicly? Or is it possible that for some reason they just decided the right vision for this is hard? But why is this the first we're hearing about it? Because this movie's been in development for a while.
Well, it's the first we're hearing about anything, because
that's true. That's true.
Because they don't even have a poster yet, and I don't.
No, they haven't had a logo for the longest time.
Yeah, I don't think they announced that it was rated R. I think people just saw the trailer and like, holy crap, this is obviously rated R, because they showed like a really bloody trailer.
Well, I don't know, because apparently, the lead actor, I don't know if it was the lead actor Taylor Johnson or if it was a producer on that movie, but somebody on the stage. I read the quote. I don't think it's in this article, but I read a quote where somebody, after showing this footage, says, yeah, Sony's not effing around.
Oh, man. Ooh.
Which kind of suggests that even if they didn't come right out and say, oh, it's rated R, that's the implication, right? Is like, oh, we're taking the kid gloves off. Now, it seems like they're trying to create a bit of a different image for themselves. And do you think I'm right? This has to have something to do with the failure of Morbius.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to imagine being so out of touch that when Morbius doesn't do well, you're like, whoa, no, Morbius didn't do well. Like, what did you expect? Anyway, like, if this is John Wick, but he's like using spears and Bowie knives and stuff, it'd be amazing.
Well, I don't know if it'll feel like John Wick, but I just say that for like violence level and stuff. I'll continue reading this article. Sony presented a roughly 2-minute teaser trailer from Kraven exclusively for CinemaCon attendees. The footage has tons of gruesome kills in it, as Kraven takes out poachers and mercs. Think Logan, Rambo, or John Wick levels of bloody violence. The footage showed Russell Crowe as we all know, if Russell Crowe is in the film, you can be sure it will be of a quality. I think you can be sure it will be of a quality. When was the last time Russell Crowe was in a good movie?
Ooh,
especially a blockbuster.
Don't look at me.
It was probably before you were born, honestly.
I like Les Mis. He was in that.
The very end of the footage reveals, I'm going to butcher this name, Alessandro Nivola is playing the Rhino. So we've got the Rhino.
The Rhino!
The skin on his arm starts to transform into Rhino skin. That's curious. Okay.
He's Killer Croc Rhino.
Yeah, maybe he's trapped in his suit, but he's able to turn it off. There's also a very brief shot of Sergei holding up the classic fur costume Kraven wore in the Marvel comics. Does anybody else think that that's either going to be the only time you see that or an after-credit scene? Whether Kraven the movie will, like Morbius, connect in any way to Sony's larger Spider-Man franchise remains to be seen. Well, if it does, it's going to be because of Universal crossover shenanigans, I am sure.
Wow, so we're getting really close to a Sinister Six.
Without Spider-Man in the universe.
Well,
which is still really silly.
And then we had like a Spider-Man movie with kind of a Sinister Six, but five, but one just sat in the bar the whole time.
Yeah.
Really underwhelming Sinister Six on screen so far.
How do they, speaking of being out of touch, even if they're doing this because Morbius didn't succeed and for whatever reason they think this is how to make their stuff successful, and I should also say this doesn't mean that everything they make after this will be rated R, but I tend to think that is very likely to be what they're doing now. Like, I bet Venom 3 will be announced as being rated R also, because that's their main audience anyway. But even if that's the case, they're still out of touch in that they release that news, they make a big deal out of it on stage at a convention, they say, we're not effing around. And they're not expecting all of us yahoos on YouTube in our basements to they're not expecting us to get on a mic and go, you didn't do that with Venom and Carnage? What the heck is wrong with you? Like, the headline here is, yeah, that's what you should have done in the first place. And Kraven is a thing that I could see doing either way. To be fair, I'm not looking at Kraven and going, oh, rated R, why would you make that violent? I mean, yeah, he's a hunter. He's going to do violent stuff. If you were to adapt Kraven's Last Hunt, of course, with Spider-Man actually in it, I'd want to push that PG-13 envelope as far as you could push it, if not let it go into rated R territory. So I'm not saying that Kraven shouldn't be a rated R thing. I'm saying, why'd you wait this long?
Because this is the event we've all been waiting for. I can't wait for the standalone Michael Keaton Vulture movie to come out and it's rated R, so we can get the Flying Man trilogy, the completion of the Flying Man trilogy. We've got Batman, Birdman, and then Vulture Man.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. But what I would much rather see happen is Sony constantly going all the way to the other side of an extreme every time they have a movie that fails. Because I don't see Kraven. It always depends on advertising and word of mouth and stuff.
Well, it depends on budget. They better not make this cost like $200 million.
Yeah,
for a Kraven movie.
It'll probably be too expensive. But I was just going to say, this is... I see this bombing at the box office just like Morbius did. And it's not... You can't always be sure just based on lack of name recognition with a character, but it's such a weird choice. It's as weird or weirder than giving Morbius his own movie. Especially as a Spider-Man fan, because if you're going to do Kraven, I want to see Spider-Man, fight Kraven. And then
who's he hunting? Just men?
Yeah, I guess. Well, and apparently...
A rhino, maybe?
Like, now we're hearing more about Kraven actually, hunting people. Before, the line seemed to be, he's a spy?
Kraven the spy.
So I don't know if he's still a spy?
You know what would be a cool story? Let me know if they've ever done this in the comics. What would be... Let me know if you think this is a cool story.
Yeah.
Most of Spider-Man's villains are animal-themed. What if Kraven, instead of hunting the spider, he started picking off all of Spider-Man's villains because he thought Spider-Man wasn't doing a good enough job just putting him in jail, and he started killing off... obviously, this has to be an Elseworlds thing if he's like killing Rhino and killing Scorpion or something, but he starts picking off...
Kraven kills the Spider-Verse?
Yeah, and then Spider-Man has to stop him. Because it's kind of like a Batman story, I guess, but I don't know. I think that would be cool.
That is a little bit like a Batman story, but that sounds cool. I feel like something somewhat similar has maybe been done before. If I were doing that story, I would have Kraven just get delusional and see actual animals when he looks at Spider-Man villains.
He's like, the rhino!
I'm like, kill that guy, he's a rhino.
No, he just has a skin disease.
And apparently the rhino in this movie, apparently... I will give them, at least they're going to have other Spider-Man characters in this movie. that makes it immediately less lame sounding and less generic sounding. It will probably still be lame and generic based on Sony's track record so far, because of course, well, the Venom sequel had Carnage in it, and look how that turned out. But I was just gonna say, apparently he's like an animal rights activist.
I just want the Ultimate Spider-Man version where he's like the crocodile hunter, and he's just a TV actor, and he wants to fight Spider-Man. Spider-Man just punches him in the face.
Yeah, I don't know how you get a whole movie out of that, but then...
Well, that's the cartoon before the movie.
I don't know what this is gonna be, so... The cartoon before the movie. The actor is sounding as delusional as Sony, where he's gone on record to say things like Kraven is Sony's, or is Spider-Man's, most iconic villain. That kind of thing. Yeah, just because you're playing him, right?
He's like Jared Leto. He's like fully in character, and he's making people serve him like raw meat so that he can eat.
That's the Venom crossover. He just goes to a lobster tank. Okay, let's go ahead and start taking questions, folks. I'm already seeing quite a few super chats. Really appreciate you guys. Thanks a lot for the support. Oh, I'm sorry. I always do this. I always stop everything just after I've said we're taking questions now. I meant to do this right at the beginning of the show, and I forgot to put the link in the description. But I will do that later, and you can find it in the community tab, just a couple of posts down. But our good friend and longtime viewer and patron, Josh Gilisano, had a terrible tragedy over the weekend. His family's house burned down on Sunday, and they lost pretty much everything. And they have a GoFundMe page that I linked a couple days ago on the community tab. They've already gotten a lot of support. They're doing really well with that, which is fortunate and wonderful, but I'm sure they can still use help. So if you are at all... If you know Doolittle or you don't know Doolittle, that's Josh. He's my friend. He's been a friend of the channel for a long time. He's been supporting us for years. He is one of our Superhero Rewind producers. Really great guy. I talk to him all the time. He's in my writers group. He could really use your help if you are so inclined. So check out his GoFundMe page. I will be donating to that as well. And I just wanted to go ahead and mention that real quick. His family is okay. Everybody made it. They did lose their family cat, which is really sad. But they did manage to get the dog out. And I think there were 6 people living there, and they all made it. They all survived. And
I never even thought about that.
They said that as soon as I heard about that, I was thinking about my own cat, and I thought about how difficult it was the couple of times I had to try to get her in a box and get her out of the house.
She hides immediately if something goes wrong. You can't find her.
There'd be no way. You have to my wife and I have to strategize for 10 minutes to get her to get her out.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, we have to block off certain rooms, and we basically have to herd her into a box. Like, if the house was on fire, I don't think Oracle would make it. I don't think my cat would make it.
Yeah, you just gotta hope that they get out themselves. Jeez, that's so sad.
But obviously, I'm glad that everybody made it and that everybody's okay.
Yeah.
So all thoughts and best wishes to Josh and his family.
That makes me... Quick question for you.
Yeah,
because I'm thinking about it now. I've heard other collectors talk about this. Have you ever thought about insuring your collection?
Yeah, I have.
Because that's scary. That's a
haven't
lot
done it,
of money.
but...
Like, that's like as much as... Is any other big thing in your house that you would get insured? Like, that's a lot of money we've both sunk into our collections.
I've honestly been a little bit scared to get it appraised, just because I don't know if I want to know what it's worth in case something ever happened to it, Because at the end of the day, it is just stuff, and it's worth whatever people would pay for it before it's worth anything. But it's also worth whatever the sentimental value is that you have for it. I feel like at this point, and this is going to sound awful and crass of me as a collector, but I think a lot of us go through this as we get older. Collecting, I still love doing it. I still love having my stuff, but I feel like I'm getting closer and closer to a point where if something unfortunate happened and I had to sell a lot of it, I'd be okay. You know, like it doesn't define me. Like, I think at one time maybe it did a little bit. I think it's healthy not to let that happen or to get past that. And I'm to a place where and maybe I just don't have a great memory, but sometimes I kind of don't even remember a lot of the stuff that's in my collections. And then I'll walk around and go, oh, that's right. I really like that thing. It means something to me. But does it mean that much to me if I can't think of it off the top of if I forget that I had it? You know what I mean? Does that mean you have too much stuff? Have you turned into a bit of a hoarder? Well, we've done a whole show on this.
Yeah. We'll get to their question. Sorry, put us in a room long enough. We'll start talking about this eventually. But yeah, I'll go ahead and get to the super chats.
Absolutely.
Let me see. Ian Chandler, first one, $5.
How you doing?
Yo, Cap and DJ. What comic villain do you think actually deserves a movie to themselves without the hero in it?
Yeah.
Also, think Venom CU Spidey is in Kraven?
It's funny. I don't know that I even have any curiosity whatsoever about that.
Yeah, that'd be a weird place to introduce him.
I doubt that he shows up. Well, what did he say? MCU Spidey or not MCU Spidey?
He said Venom CU Spidey, like just whoever's going to be that Spider-Man in that one.
It would be so. A, I think it would be weird to introduce him there, and B.
But what's not weird about this?
That's true. Well, that's why it's unpredictable. Because what I want to say is, I don't see them introducing a Spider-Man until the deal ever falls apart, if that were to ever happen. Because all their eggs continued to apparently be in the MCU Spidey basket. I know I said when I reviewed No Way Home that it felt like the end of that movie was setting up a loophole to get Spider-Man out of the MCU and to go to Sony if they wanted to go that way. It sounded more and more like that's not what they're doing, but that wasn't a prediction on my part. That was just what it seemed like, and I couldn't figure out why you would end it that way unless that's what you were doing.
Yeah, why else? I don't understand.
What's the point of the status quo reset and erasing the memory and all of that? But anyway, getting to the solo villain question, I'll try to think of a good idea or two, but the first thing that I want to say is, even for villains that could hold their own, probably 98% of them, be they Spider-Man, Batman, what have you, I kind of want them to be spun out of the hero's movie first. I think maybe I shouldn't give a percentage, but majoritively, I still say it's, especially if they are at all created by that hero. Like, the problem is, too many of these villains, the trope is the hero creates the villain. So you're immediately having to start from a totally different impetus, from a totally different origin, if you get rid of the hero first. So I guess and that doesn't mean that it's going to be bad, it's just counterintuitive, and it's hard to believe that you start from, or I think rarely do you start from a brilliant notion place. Well, we're going to have to get rid of Spider-Man in order to tell this Venom story, but it's so good we're going to take that risk. That really started from, we can't use Spider-Man right now, and because we've got this MCU version, so or they chose not to have a secondary one, I guess, and Venom is very popular, most popular character, so we're going to just give him his own movie. Now, having said that, it worked okay with Joker. It's kind of its own thing at that point. It's not even really comic book Joker, but I liked it okay. So, there are always exceptions, whether they prove the rule or not. DJ, I was stalling to come up with an answer. I think the first thing that comes to my mind is Dr. Doom.
Oh, interesting.
I feel like you can make a good Doom movie without the Fantastic Four, as odd as maybe it is to not have him intrinsically linked to them, because
absolutely,
they could still easily be in that world, and you could introduce them later if you wanted to. You just have Dr. Doom running Latveria, and you have maybe some mentions of his backstory and rivalry with Reed Richards and all of that, but you could easily tell a story about him, and I think Magneto is much the same.
They could call it X-Men Origins Magneto.
That's true.
I don't know what I would like him. It's hard for me.
And did he say just villain or specifically Spider-Man villain?
He just said comic villain.
Okay. Well, those are the two answers that immediately come to my mind. I'm going to try to think if there... I think you could do a Ra's al Ghul movie without Batman.
I'm going to stick to Spider-Man because that's what I know best.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would love I wouldn't love this, but if I have to not have Spider-Man, I guess this could be cool. Would be a street level like mafia mob boss movie where you have Kingpin kind
Yeah.
of rising to power. You've got Tombstone and Hammerhead in there. Maybe even the Enforcers with um, Ox and Dan and who's the third one? I don't remember. But yeah, all those the mob boss Spider-Man, the
Yeah.
mob boss corner of Spider-Man's villains could be really cool.
Well, that's a really good idea. And then any more second string or lower tier Spider-Man villain you wanted to have involved there, you could still have a very colorful cast of characters. How hard is it to include Electro or the Shocker or Hydro Man? Just anybody you can think of really could be in that movie.
Yeah, Vulture. I mean, any of the small like thug guys like Sandman could be
You could also tell that
hired.
story very easily without costumes at all.
Yeah.
You know, you could do that as a very much Punisher Max sort of thing. And I also feel like this isn't really
Montana.
the same thing, but all things being equal as far as rights and things go, Punisher would be a really easy place to introduce a lot of characters like that too. Like it'd be, you could have Punisher be your, you know, he's of course still an anti-hero, and you have him be the main antagonist for your villain who the story is focusing on, and you use the Punisher to introduce anybody you want to. So like a Kingpin, and I'm saying this partly because of Punisher Max, but like a Kingpin versus Punisher movie would be just wonderful, and from Kingpin's perspective, maybe more than Punisher's.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that could be great.
Yeah. I would love that to be kind of up here. I would love that to be the direction you go for like a Spider-Man noir movie, is have all of those seedy underbelly kind of villains like Tombstone. Even I don't know if you ever played Shattered Dimensions,
Yeah.
but they did a reinvention of Vulture in that game for the noir stuff, and he's like just a cannibal, like creepy, gross guy. It was shocking to me when I was playing it as a younger man, but it was cool.
James Egan says, we are getting a Penguin show possibly without Batman. Yeah, that will probably set a precedent for here's how you do that right. Yeah. I mean, it's not out yet. I can't, obviously, I don't want to review the thing before it comes out, but I for, I think, good reason, have confidence in Matt Reeves with that. And I wouldn't have said I really want to see a solo Penguin thing before that movie. At the same time, there's a lot more precedent for great solo Batman villain stories in comics than a lot of other Rose Galleries. And Spider-Man has had some as well, but it also helps that that's not in a world without Batman. Even if Batman doesn't show up, it's not like you have the Penguin and we're just avoiding ever mentioning Batman or having him even in the universe. So, like, that helps a lot. Yeah. And they're talking about doing a Clayface thing. So we're going to get more and more of that. And the Spider-Man thing wouldn't bug me so much if Spider-Man was in that universe. That's the really weird thing about it. Look, if you'd had a Spider-Man movie that spun off Venom, whether it's exactly that movie just with, like, Venom has actually possessed Spider-Man, and it's not a great movie, and that's not what I would want, but, you know, just tonally and everything. But I think immediately I would have more goodwill, and a lot of people would, with those movies moving forward, if you just spun a villain off from Spider-Man, and even if he never shows up again in those movies, at least he's the foundation of it in the first place.
Yeah. Because it's not like, I don't know, I haven't seen Morbius. Maybe it is, but it's not like the villain in Morbius was trying to turn everyone in the city into vampires at the end? Was it a big...
Oh, heck if I remember. I saw that movie one time. It's not sticking with me great.
You could keep the villain's plot small so Spider-Man wouldn't necessarily have to show up for it, you know?
Yeah.
If they were just like personal grudges, like the Venom and Carnage thing.
Oh, Cinematographic mentioned that the third Enforcer was Montana. I couldn't think of it either.
Yes, I saw he mentioned that. Thank you, Cinematographic. I couldn't think of the third one. All right.
Thanks for the question. Really good one.
Yeah. Mutale, a better first trailer, Shazam 2 or The Marvels? And I will leave this to you because I've seen neither.
The Marvels. Certainly. And, well, I don't know. I mean, that's an interesting question because they're both lackluster, and neither one of them is getting me off my seat. I cannot wait for this movie. With Shazam, it was just generic sequel. This is about where I would figure this would go, and I was kind of nonplussed by it. Marvel's is kind of tonally all over the place. Like Shazam, at least I could tell what kind of movie that was. I guess I'll say I don't know. Just as far as the way they're cut and stuff, I think both of them probably have the best trailer they could have, having not seen the Marvels yet. But I would imagine that trailer feels that way with the Marvels because it's indicative of what that film is going to be. But I don't know that because I've not seen the movie yet, of course. But usually, as I always say, trailers are there not to tell you what the movie is going to be like, but to get you to go see it. And if that isn't totally all over the place, they made a really bad trailer. Because it's like, look how insanely goofy, silly, comedic it is. It looks, almost like a Fantastic Four 2 sort of tone. And then in other places, it looks like it's wanting you to think that it's a little bit more dramatic than that. And then it's also curious how much they're selling that on iconography from Captain Marvel, which is a movie that a lot of us didn't really care for or just found kind of dull. So like the stupid cat is all over that trailer. I'm done with that cat. It ruined Nick Fury for me. I don't want it back. Like if I feel this strongly about the stupid alien cat.
Why? It's been 30 years. Why is the cat still following her around?
Yeah. Like, why did they force it to be in that movie? I mean, we haven't seen it, so maybe it'll make perfect sense. But it feels like a thing that is almost forced in to make everybody to manufacture the idea that it was a fan favorite. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, I would be okay. I haven't seen the trailer. I'm just going off what Cap said, but I'd be okay with a more goofy tone if it was like more from Miss Marvel's perspective, because I liked her a lot. She's really charming in that show, or at least the first 3 episodes or so.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, I don't want it to be like a Ragnarok where it's like super goofy 1 minute and then, oh my gosh, the darkest thing we've ever done in the Thor movies another minute.
This is one of, if not the only times that I've had this feeling, DJ. You're bringing in new characters and making it yet another team thing. And I'm actually hoping that the new members of the team bury the original. I've rarely had that feeling. No, what I really hope is that she just comes alive more and I understand that character more, because I thought she was a bit of a blank slate in her own movie. And I don't think Brie Larson did a bad job by any stretch. I feel like she's groping around trying to figure out who that character is, and I feel like she's a little different in different scenes. She's as charming as she can be. I just don't think the script's got enough for her to work with. But I have liked Monica Rambeau now, and I have liked what's-her-face who's Miss Marvel. I just can't think of her name right now.
Yeah, I don't know the actress's name.
No, I'm saying the character now. I just can't
Kamala
think of her.
Khan.
Thank you, Kamala Khan. And because Monica Rambeau is the other Captain Marvel. I've liked both of them, so now I just kind of want them to get all the screen time, or I want Brie Larson's character to come alive finally.
Yeah, I think Brie Larson can be great. I think she just needs better writing, and I mean, we had the exact same thing with. What's her face? There's so many characters now in the MCU.
I know, I can't keep track of all of it.
We need a
friggin' chart every time we talk about this.
The second Black Widow, who we were kind of on in Black Widow, but then she came alive when she was hanging out with Hawkeye Jr.
That's
because Yelena, she was much better in Hawkeye. So we could have the same thing here, where once she's hanging out with the younger hero, she really comes alive. So yeah, I hope it's great. I hope every movie's great. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'm not holding out a lot of hope for that, and I don't know that that's going to do anything at the box office. We'll see what happens. I think Marvel could be in for a tough road to hoe. And I read, I didn't look at the article, to be fair, but I'm just remembering that I noticed a headline earlier today, and I didn't get a chance to click on the article, but I saw a headline that claimed that projections so far are that Guardians 3 is going to bomb. I would be a little surprised if that happened. I'm not sure why that's what analysts are saying right now, but has it just been too long? Is the idea that people are kind of over Guardians at this point? Because I feel like that's one of the only things that fans are still kind of latched onto, in at least in my circles and stuff.
Yeah, it's always hard to tell because our circles are usually so polar opposites
Fractured, yeah.
of what the mainstream public. I mean, I have a friend who's really he seems to be on the same. He seems to be with the mainstream every time I talk to him. Like, oh wow, that's a different alien opinion to me because all the people at Geek Evolution have a totally different opinion. But yeah, he really didn't like the Guardians Christmas special. He's kind of over it at this point. But that's just one person, so I have no idea what the mainstream is thinking these days.
Boy, I would also be surprised if the Christmas special, even if people hated it, did anything to that movie at the box office. Because I'm also not sure how many people even saw that.
Yeah,
like,
I'd
I
like to
loved
see
it. I
numbers
saw
on
it
that.
like 8 times over Christmas. I kept showing it to people.
Well,
But
I still haven't watched it.
well, and you may not care for it, but it's very classic Christmas special. It reminded me of the specials that were on when I was a kid, and it was a fun thing to watch with my kids, and I appreciated that there was a thing like that I could watch with my kids. But
It's cool.
and I liked the soundtrack a lot. Like, Gunn co-wrote the opening song that's absolutely hysterical, and the way it's shot, there's a band playing it, and it's just lovely. And he used a Smashing Pumpkins song that I've always really liked that's a Christmas song, and it's just a really cool soundtrack. So a lot of it spoke to me personally, but
Yeah. I maybe I'll check it out this Christmas. I love Christmas. It's my favorite holiday, and I love watching Christmas movies. That's the reason I've stayed away from it because I don't know if I don't want to not like it and then hurt my feelings.
yeah.
Because
Well, that's
I
cool.
don't
And-
want like an irreverent like winking at I don't know like campy Christmas thing. I don't know. His humor sensibilities are just so different than mine that I'm worried that it's not going to work for me. And I'd
and it
rather
may
not watch it.
That's what I'm
than-
saying. But I also think it's okay to. Here's what sucks. It's okay to make things that aren't for everybody.
Absolutely.
But the MCU has made a reputation for itself. Maybe it's losing this to some degree. I don't even know that it's losing this reputation so much as the reputation now is they're not all good anymore, you know? But it made a reputation for our movies almost in mass, whether you agree with this or not, are accessible. They're movies that are made for the mainstream. If this comes out, you can be pretty sure that it will be of a certain quality and that there will be something in it for you. And that's been a lot of their success. And they have made some movies here and there. I always go to Winter Soldier that are simultaneously, in my opinion, really great, and also might put some people off because they're just not into that kind of thing. But I like that. I don't need the Guardians movies to appeal to everybody. I think it's neat that that first one especially won a lot of people over that might not have initially been into that kind of thing, and really brought back the space opera in a way I didn't think it would ever come back.
Yeah, and it helps that that's the least Gunn of them. Like he softened the edges a little bit with the first one to get people on board, and then really goes into his style in the second one and third one. And I haven't seen the third one, but I'm assuming
it seems, yeah. Now I'll say he goes into his style in the second movie. I personally, I think he ramps it up to about 40 to 50% more, but he's still reeling back quite a bit compared to like the Suicide Squad, which is just all in back to, I don't want to say all the way back to Super, but or Slither or something, but
Super and Slither, yeah, that's where it all began.
And quick plug, I'm doing that on the Rewind commentary show next Monday, and I have so far only seen it one time.
Oh, you're doing Super?
No, I'm doing the Suicide Squad.
Oh, the Suicide Squad. Wow.
Yes. No, pardon me. I realized that I just put out a litany of movies, and I was like, as I'm saying that, DJ is not going to know what I'm talking about right now. I'm going to have to backtrack this. I decided to do the Suicide Squad next because I wanted to do something that was... The nice thing about this commentary show is it's going to be easier to do things more often that are relevant because I don't have to spend as much time preparing for them. And so I'm really looking at the calendar and making sure that if some major superhero thing is happening that week, or maybe even a minor one, I'll do something that is at least tangentially related to it. So you might have expected me to do Guardians 1 or 2, but I did Guardians 2 in the unscripted format not too long ago, and I thought it'd be kind of weird to do 1 and then go to the theater and see 3. So I decided instead to do the Suicide Squad because that is the last thing Gunn did, and it's another team movie thing, but for the other studio.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's really cool.
So that's why I'm doing that. And since I just did Batman 89 yesterday, I'm not sure what I'm going to do the week the Flash comes out yet. So I got to figure that out.
Well, see, you can pick anything because they're throwing everything into that movie.
That's a really good
anything
point.
Anything is relevant.
I'll go back and do the old Supergirl movie again. That's what I'll do.
There you go.
And I don't want to be on this for too long, but the other thing I wanted to mention is it next month that we're also gonna have the sequel to Spider-Verse. So I will do the first Spider-Verse movie when that comes out too.
Sweet. All right, T-Edge won $5.
Sorry, it might have been him, might have been somebody else. I just want to squash this real quick because I keep hearing people say you should do Batman Returns the week Flash comes out because that's the last Batman movie Keaton was in. It also wasn't that long ago that I did an unscripted podcast on that either, though, and I don't really want to go through all of that again right now because it was like last year.
Yeah.
That's just not a lot of fun for me because I'm repeating myself real hard. Like my rule at the moment is there's so many things that I can do that like eventually since I'm doing a commentary on everything again, I'll go back to even the unscripted things I did in the last couple of years. But if I did it in the last at least year, if not two, kind of want to have some breathing time before I get back to it.
Mm-hmm. All right, T-Edge won $5. I'm more optimistic after the new Flash trailer dropped today, but I'm also more confused as ever. What are your thoughts? You guys are awesome.
I think we're going to walk out of that movie confused, to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah, that trailer didn't do anything for me one way or another. It didn't make me more irritated and uninterested in the project, but it didn't get me more hyped for the project either. A lot of people are latching on to thematic stuff, and I'm hearing people saying, oh, yay, there's more like Flashpoint themes and ideas here, it looks like, than maybe we would have expected, with Batman having a character parallel between Batman and Flash, where Batman says talking about Keaton's Batman, because I have to be specific, because we have two Batmans in this movie at least, where he's saying, I say at least, there's probably only going to be those two, because I would be very surprised if we actually got surprises in this movie with other things with multiverse, but I guess we'll see. It's entirely. It would be really cool if we don't know everything walking in, but I don't trust that.
Well, that's just the stupid internet. Like literally the only.
Well, they put everything in the trailers so far that we know about.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, if there are like straight up cameos that we're not supposed to know about, because the only fun thing about a cameo is that you don't know it's going to happen.
That's right.
And then we find out about every cameo that happens these days. It's so annoying.
Yeah. Well, that's why back with the CW crisis, when we were finding out about characters, I kept saying, okay, we got this big list of characters we know are in this. If they're just cameos, it's no fun because I already know about them. But if, say, Alexander Knox is a major character that gets several scenes, I'm not going to mind knowing about it ahead of time. But guess what? We found out Knox was in it, and then the opening scene is, there's Knox. He's looking at a newspaper. He looks up, the universe is about to collapse. That's all you get. Read a book, And same thing with, like, Huntress from Birds of Prey, et cetera, all these characters that I was kind of excited to see. But
it would have been, like, imagine if you didn't know. That would have been awesome. You're just sitting there watching it, and it's like, oh, wow, that's so cool that they got that.
Imagine you didn't know Burt Ward was going to be in that.
Yeah, you would have lost your mind. But you can't, because the internet ruins everything.
Yeah, exactly. And these things are not good because they have cameos, but that can be a neat thing on top of something that's actually good and working. Because tell me if you agree with this, is it a really gimmicky thing to do? Yes and no. Like, it may not feel gimmicky if we're actually creative with it and that's not what we sold it on. Is the gimmickiness of it just in advertising, DJ?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the problem, is just and so you almost have to credit, even though you and I didn't care for this and you liked it even a lot less than I did, you almost have to credit No Way Home for doing everything it could to not let people know that the other Spider-Man characters were going to be in it, but we knew about all the villains.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not blaming the studios at all. I'm blaming, like, the the people in Kevin Feige's dumpster behind his house digging through his scraps like for every morsel of information that we can put on the internet to ruin movies for everybody. Like, just stop. Just let us watch movies. We don't care what's going to be in it. Let us have a good time. Like the fact that like an Uber driver took a picture, or like an Uber Eats driver took a picture of Andrew Garfield's license, and that's how we found out that he was in Atlanta when they were shooting that movie is insane. Like, geez, just let people do their jobs.
I totally agree with you, man. I wish the way the industry worked, and I get that this probably would not work, at least for most things. I wish the way the industry worked was we find out a project's even happening 2 weeks to a month before it comes out.
That would be great.
That'd be wonderful. That's what
I wish. Let's just make an island. Let's make a Jurassic Park island where they just go film all the movies and nobody can get there.
I thought you were gonna say let's make an island where just me and you and people that feel this way that don't like stuff spoiled. Because
sure, let's do that too.
Because let me just put in this disclaimer real quick and say, if you're somebody like Austin, I'm talking directly to Austin right now. If you're Austin and you like knowing everything ahead of time and you don't care about spoilers, more power to you. I don't understand that. That's not my personality. But DJ, you and I, and like for some people, that's the fun of it, is trying to create. I don't want to speak for Austin, but the sense I get is that guys like him like to create as much of a blueprint as they can in their head and kind of like try to guess at what the story is, try to guess at what the movie looks like, and then go see how close they are. And that gives me personally just too much of a presumption of what the thing is, and it clouds my judgment, negative or positive. Maybe my standards will be on the floor now. Maybe I'll have too many expectations. Who knows until I've seen the thing. It can go either way. But the other thing it does is it just makes seeing it less fun for me, because I know too much about what's coming, and I want to get lost in the narrative of it. You know, I don't want to be watching the movie thinking about the production of it. And more, maybe part of the problem is just what I do, but I find it much harder to suspend disbelief these days as somebody that does look even as much about production as I do. I'm thinking about it I try not to. I try to just sit down and let the thing wash over me. And if it's a really good story, usually that will happen eventually. But these days, whether it's because of the movies themselves or because of, again, doing this YouTube thing, sometimes it's a long time or it never happens before I'm looking at a fiction, you know, where I'm in the story versus a product. And I don't like that.
Yeah.
So I wish DJ and I and people that feel like us could go on an island where we don't even know about the movie until 2 weeks before it comes out.
Yes, I'm down. Where are we going? I mean, we have families and kids we should probably take care of, and we probably shouldn't abandon them. But we'll figure something out. I guess we just have to disconnect, just unplug.
Maybe we
hard
could
to do
just
both of our channels if we're unplugged.
Yeah, we'll just make that our summer vacation. You know, that's where we go.
We'll go to the Cayman Islands or something.
Dagon Spear, I need to get back to this trailer for a second. Dagon Spear, I thought the Let's Get Nuts was forced and kind of pointless. So we knew about that throwback line, and I'm expecting there to be many more. I guess we'll see what happens. We knew about that throwback line from, what was it, Comic-Con last year or something, where there was a teaser and a bunch of people at a convention got to see that line, or it was mentioned. I'm not sure what happened. And I expected it to be in that first trailer, and I was really surprised that it wasn't. When he finally says that, I found myself going, I bet this is what Keaton looks like if he's ever at a convention or in public and somebody in a panel asks him to say that line. That was what the line reading was like, where it's like somebody just harassing him over and over again. Oh, would you say the thing? Hey, Michael Keaton, would you say the thing? Would you say, you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts. And then Keaton just goes, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. And that's kind of what the line delivery was like. Don't get me wrong. he's doing his best with it, but there's nothing to read there. There's nothing to play as an actor with that, because you know the reason it's there. Like, it's the same reason that Keanu Reeves was initially really put off by the idea of saying any lines of dialogue that might get shoehorned in a John Wick movie. In the second John Wick, and they sold it on this. This was a trailer fodder line. He says, guns, lots of guns. And they managed to work it in a way that made perfect sense for the scene, and where if you'd never seen The Matrix, you wouldn't think anything of it. And I think that's why he ultimately accepted doing it, and his delivery is fine. And he says it in a different way. And Keaton is saying it in a different way, too, with this, but that's also just the context of the scene. It looks like we don't actually know who he's talking to, but that is not the context that I would have written that line if it just absolutely has to be there, because it looks like he's probably talking to Flash, or the two Flashes. My assumption is that scene is good, because I think he's in his Batcave, or they're somewhere where they're planning, it looks like. And I assume it's like, oh, we're about to go on this crazy death-defying mission. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. That's the sense I get from it. Wouldn't you, if you have to do that, wouldn't you want to put it in a scene with a villain? Where, like, this is a case where I would actually want it to be in a very similar context to the original, just because what is the point of even having it if, well, the only point of having it is, yeah, I remember that, and we clap like seals, but if you have it at all, what's fun about that is not the line, but the way Keaton said it. You know, come on! That's not how he's doing it. And it's very forced. I totally agree with Dagenspear. It's kind of unfortunate. And then that brings up the big question everybody's had with this, and I've had people ask me about it, and like, I'm not making this movie. I don't know. People keep saying, is this even 89 Batman? Or is it Keaton playing a Batman with similar iconography, and he's got the same batarangs and stuff in a similar suit, but it's not actually that continuity? I don't know. And the more we're seeing of it, the more I think it probably isn't, or it's going to be really awkwardly ambiguous about it.
Mm. All right. To make sure we answered everything.
But it has to have exactly that Batmobile, even if the Batwing is going to be different. I mean, it looks better in pop form, but just look at the design of this thing. Like, it's very strange that they've got the throwback to the moon shot from 89, you know, where it goes up to the moon and it stops for a minute for no good reason, just to create the poster in 89, and then it drops back down. I mean, like, that was that movie almost doing the sort of, like, self-aware throwback thing, where it's like, we know how we advertised this movie. Everybody remember this? It's really weird that they do that in this movie, and it's a little bit, subtle's not the right word, but I think they're trying to go for subtle with it, where it's like, oh, the Batwing flies in front of the moon, but it's not going to, like, stop. It keeps going, and it's, like, sideways instead of, like, straight up and down. It doesn't go and then quit, and then just drop, like...
sideways and slantways and long ways.
Because in 89, it just drops as if he lost control of the stick or something. But it's really... Sorry, the point I'm trying to make is, look at the shape of it, DJ. It's not the bat symbol. It's certainly not that bat symbol. Why would he even do that? You know what I mean? Because it's not the same thing anymore. I don't understand why they used exactly that car, but not exactly the Batwing. It's really weird. Again, it looks nicer as a toy. Like, I don't mind this as a design for a Batwing, but I don't want it to be Keaton's, but, like, it's okay.
Yeah, man. What kind of who's Batman's mechanic that he's got a car that's lasted over 30 years? Like, that's impressive.
Yeah, well, he could keep getting new ones built, but just with the exact same design. And I'm not going to begrudge him that, because it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. It's objectively perfect.
Checker's the inventor with a $10 super chat. We don't have music for that, but maybe we should.
Maybe we should, yeah. Well, you know, this isn't what we usually do, but since you said that, might as well.
Oh no, I can't hear it with this new setup.
No, I know. I'll fix it for you. I need you to pretend like you can, DJ. I'm taking you for a ride. Anyway, let's go ahead and do this $10 super chat, and then I was actually going to go ahead and go to break, but since you brought this up, we'll go ahead and do it real quick. What is Checkers super chat? And thanks a lot, Checkers. Appreciate you, buddy.
Checkers, $10. Sorry to hear you didn't buy Damon's character motivation in Air. I'd love to see a movie about Kevin Sugihara and the WB execs trying to release Justice League in time to get their bonuses. Riveting.
That'd be great. Well, I think you could do that in a really tongue-in-cheek sort of way, you know, where...
like Tetris.
You have these very... Yeah. Or, well, that's a different animal because with Tetris, you kind of upped the fictional stakes. And from anybody's perspective, that's a kind of terrifying sort of situation where you're in Russia, you're intentionally breaking the law. You don't know if you're going to get thrown in a gulag, and you're doing it all on the chance that if you can get the handheld rights to Tetris, you're going to be a millionaire and you're going to save this Russian guy who you've come to really respect and admire, and he's actually going to get paid for his work. Like, there's real personal stakes with all of that. And that was all true in real life, but upped way, way, way more in that movie with something like what Checkers is suggesting, and kind of with Air, but they're not self-aware about it, and they don't realize that a lot of regular people might look at this, and I mean, that movie's doing, it's not actually doing well at the box office, but people are liking it, so maybe I'm wrong about this, but I feel like there's kind of this out-of-touch thing where, from their perspective, like he says, oh no, we're going to lose our bonuses or whatever. It would be funny to make a movie that was really tongue-in-cheek about it, DJ, and pretended like it was aimed at an audience of millionaires and billionaires, where everybody knows exactly what it's like to go from, this year I have $100 million, and next year I'm down to like $98 million. Oh no, you know, the stakes are so high. It would be kind of amusing to do that kind of satire.
Well, yeah.
Like a movie for the 1%, right?
Well, that was all last year, was parodies of the 1%. That's what what is it called? Triangle of Sadness was, and that's what White Lotus was.
Oh, so so we're already doing this.
The dinner movie was the dinner party movie.
Okay, but are they serious satires or are they parodies? Like, well, are they actually parodies like what we're talking about?
No, they're not full on parodies. They're satire. I
think a parody like that could be really funny. I think Weird Al is the guy to make it. I think he
Triangle
should
of Sadness goes pretty far.
A second biopic parody.
Well, he has to wait 23 years to make his next film.
That's true, because he only makes one every 23 years. Was that the summation of his super chat?
Yeah. He just really wants to see that story play out.
That's really funny. Guys, we're going to take a 3.5 to 4 minute break. We will see you again in just a little bit. I hope you're enjoying the show. We'll be back here in just a little bit with the second half of the Captain Logan Show. Feel free to throw in more questions, either super chats or otherwise. We've got plenty of time to tackle some more for you. Actually, DJ, real quick, would you tell me how many we have left?
Mm-hmm.
Because I say that, maybe we're sitting on 12 and I don't know it.
We are sitting on 8.
Okay, that's not bad at all. So feel free to throw some more in about anything under the sun within reason, and we'll see you again in just a couple minutes. Welcome back, everybody, to the second half of the Captain Logan show. You know, we had a bit of a drama here because DJ decided to go off and cheat on me and work on somebody else's live show for the last 3.5 minutes. And I called him on it, and you know what DJ said to me? He said, Cap, we were on a break.
Wow, did not know where you were going with that.
We were on a break!
Well, someday we'll do a watch party on that.
That joke was just for you, DJ.
Well, and Robert Wilde, apparently. He got our last reference that we did.
Oh, did he
he's
appreciate
also
that? Yeah.
He's also a Friends.
I thought of that just because you said pivot.
Pivot. That's like the most obvious Friends reference ever, though, is pivot.
It is. Yeah, well, and the one I just did is up there, too.
That's true.
You know, more people are going to understand it. I don't want to go for something. I mean, okay, what would you say are the top 5? Like, Smelly Cat's probably in there.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were going to ask me what's my favorite that's not as well known, because I would say,
oh, sure.
Dear God, this parachute is a knapsack.
My favorite of the more obscure ones is a ghost.
Snow, a ghost.
Maybe that's not super obscure, but more so than those. It's not one that comes back over and over again, I guess. Like,
yeah, that's true. I like the ones that
anything with like ugly naked guy and the Thanksgiving turkey on the head, and that's all stuff everybody knows.
Yeah. Bamboozled, that's great.
Bamboozled is wonderful. Yeah, we'll do a watch party on that
here.
at some point. For the 3, yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We were gonna watch Power Rangers, and we ended up watching that.
All right, Mutale.
For the 3 people that would watch that, be a lot of fun. We'll do that on a Tuesday one of these days, DJ.
Sure. Yeah. Mutale wants to know, what is your ranking of the 4 Chris's?
Oh, Lord.
I love that we're answering this with the super.
Hey, I appreciate that at least it's not like a controversy thing. Who's the worst crap? Well, I guess that is in there because we have to put one at the bottom. So let's see if I can name them. Can we see if I can name them?
Well, he lists them.
I'm sure he does, but I don't want multiple choice. I want to see if I can come up with them. I want to turn this into a trivia question because that is so much more fun for me than what we have to do. Chris Pratt, Chris Pine, Chris Hemsworth, and Chris, not O'Donnell, Chris.
You can throw him in there. We can put him in the list.
Christopher Plummer. No.
Come on, you're the worst one. The best one.
Chris Pratt, Chris Pine, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans.
There he is.
Finally.
You love him. I
Kringle.
can do this pretty easily if you need some time to think.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to rank those guys. I don't have any issues with any of those guys, like as people or actors, really. Like,
you don't have to have issues with them to say which one's your favorite.
Just from, but what are we ranking this based on? Performances or how much I like the characters they play? What's the criteria here?
Yeah, that's all I care about. I don't know anything about their personal lives. I'm just
Sure.
ranking it on like who I've enjoyed in the most movies, which would be Evans, and then Pine.
But I think it's almost unfair because you could almost just do this based on characters. I mean, I guess their performance has something to do with it, but I'm not sure if the order would be any different in comics for me than it would be in the movies. Well, that's maybe not true, actually, because I like Thor in the comics more than I do in the movies.
Yeah. Well, I'm not even just thinking of Marvel stuff. I'm just thinking of their work as a whole.
Other things they've done, yeah. Okay, well, I guess just based on the Captain America movies, I guess I put Evans at the top, but I mean, I like Pratt a lot. I don't care what anybody says. I like Pratt a lot. So Pratt is maybe second for me. Let's see, Chris, and then Hemsworth is probably at the bottom just because of the Thor stuff I haven't liked. Who am I missing?
Pine.
Oh, and then that's not even. See, I was thrown off by the fact that 3 of the 4 of these guys are in the MCU.
Yeah, it's just a thing where. Who's your favorite?
Okay, Pine and Pratt end up being a toss-up to me. I maybe actually put Pine a little bit above Pratt now that I'm thinking about it. I forgot he was in there. Yeah, he's second. He's second for me. I had a lot of respect for the way he handled Kirk, and I've liked him in everything I've ever seen. I mean, I really, even stuff that's not that great, I always like Pine. He was the only saving grace for, what is that abysmal Disney movie that's based on books? That I always I can always think of Swiftly Tilting Planet, but not the first one.
I always have
this.
Wrinkle in Time.
Wrinkle in Time, yeah. He was pretty good in that, but that movie's awful.
Oh, I didn't even know he was in that.
Yeah, he's the dad.
Oh, cool.
It was really good casting, and I really like him in Wonder Woman.
Well, yeah, then we had the exact same lists, which I'm bumfuzzled because usually no one agrees with me.
Yeah,
so that's awesome. Evans, Pine, Pratt, Hemsworth,
and Mutale says the same thing. Yeah. Well, so this is our echo chamber.
Yeah, this is our echo chamber. But yeah, I just love Hemsworth. I mean, obviously Captain America's amazing. He was even great as Human Torch, even though those movies aren't great.
You mean Evans?
Yeah.
You said Hemsworth, but
oh gosh, no.
You put Hemsworth in 4, and then you went, I love Hemsworth.
Yeah, but Evans, I mean, he did Snowpiercer, which I loved. He did. He's in an amazing scene of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. He's like.
I was actually a little disappointed with Snowpiercer. I'm not gonna lie, but.
Oh, interesting.
When I finally watched it, but he's really good in it.
Yeah.
That's the movie about the dystopian future on a train, right?
Yes, the sequel to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, I didn't love it.
Cool. I don't know. Maybe Bong Joon-ho's not your thing. Have you seen Parasite?
Yeah, and I liked that. I liked it more.
Yeah, well, I think it is better, but I really like Snowpiercer. But I haven't seen it in a long time. I only saw it once when it first dropped.
Austin and I reviewed it on the request. Somebody asked for that.
Oh, cool.
And we were both a little lukewarm on it by the end.
Yeah, those are the only Bong Joon-ho's I've seen. I still really want to see The Host, even though that's an early one, and I really want to see Memories of Murder. Anyway,
I've never even heard of that. Okay.
He also said, "And what Marvel characters would you like to see meet their MCU counterparts?"
Oh, that's weird. So he means comic book characters.
I just want to answer with the best answer to this question ever. I saw an interview with the Guardians 2 cast, and who plays his dad in that? I can't remember his name right now. I want to say Burt Reynolds.
Why is it? No, it's not Burt Reynolds. Well, now you've really thrown me off, and I'm not going to think of it. But anyway, and it's not Hasselhoff either. But we all know who you're talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah. So someone asked him that, like, which Marvel character would you want to meet in person? He was like, "Oh, I so don't care," and just started laughing and laughed in the interviewer's face.
I so don't care.
He doesn't care.
You gotta understand that most actors are not fans of the material, and it gets even more awkward when they sort of are, but they don't know very much.
Kurt Russell.
There you go. That's really funny. Well, that's especially... That guy's not going to care. Why are you asking?
Why would you ask him? He hasn't even seen any of the Marvel movies. But yeah, Marvel characters you'd like to see meet.
If you're going to be like that, the missed opportunity is not to ask every single actor you interview from that movie, so have you seen Hasselhoff's Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Oh, you haven't? You must! DVD's only $50 on eBay.
Cap almost did a scripted rewind on it.
I wrote meticulous notes for it and then never got around to it. So that'll be weird because that'll be a commentary that nobody will be able to watch the film with me.
Yeah.
But I'll do it. You guys will watch me watching a movie. And by you guys, I don't mean to be pretentious. Maybe you will. But I'll do it. For an audience of... I said this to Austin the other day. Maybe we were on camera. I think we were, because I think it was when we were finalizing the master list for Superhero Rewind. And I said, I never thought that the video where we finally got 0 views would be on a superhero thing, but it probably will now. There's so many obscure movies where I'm going to have to tackle as commentaries. One of those B movies made in somebody's basement will be the thing that gets 0 views. Or one of those will be a thing that gets 100,000 views. It'll be one or the other.
Yeah, but the thumbs down ratio will be like 70-30.
We're stalling here. I'm going to go with... The first thing that comes to mind, just because I'm in that headspace, is comic book Nick Fury meeting Sam Jackson Nick Fury.
Yeah, I guess that's what he means. Yeah, Marvel characters meeting MCU counterparts. So this is a little bit different than actors meeting them, so that's a little better.
Yeah, their counterparts.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a better answer than that.
No, that would be funny.
Oh, no. What would be... There is a definitive answer to this, right? It's MODOK. The answer is MODOK. The answer is obviously unequivocally MODOK.
All right, moving on. We nailed that one. Mojo Froyo in Comics is here.
Hi.
Good to see you. It's been a while. $2.
I love his name. Never change that name. And never
what?
stop asking us questions about Froyo.
Exclusively about Froyo.
Is it back? Is he doing it again?
Yeah. What should Kraven the Hunter's Froyo consist of?
Oh my god, he's still doing it. He's got a shtick like Here's $5 does, who we also haven't seen in a good long time. I want to say it's been 3 or 4 months since we've seen Here's $5.
It's been a while. It's been long enough that there's been copycats. I noticed in your last stream.
Oh, was there really?
I think it was Daniverse said
Look,
he was stealing somebody's shtick. Somebody, can't remember who it was.
That man has a trademark on Here's $5. Now you can give us $5, but you can't be Here's $5. and you can't be Froyo guy either. So I don't want people to come in and start asking like frozen yogurt questions. And
no, you can go with gelato, or you can go with any other frozen treats.
No, because then you're just a knockoff, man. You can't come in and be like, what's his name, Mojo Froyo in comics. You can't come in and be like Mojo Soft Serve. Just don't do that.
You got to have some kind of rhyming scheme that works.
Kraven's Froyo, these are so silly, would consist of meat
it's rated R.
products.
It's rated R, so it's got to have a bunch of like cherry syrup all over it.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I was thinking it's like bacon. It's a bacon Froyo. It's got meat products.
Yeah, it's just got like lamb and veal in it and all kinds of raw. Ugh, this sounds horrible.
Mojo Froyo comes in, he just makes my stomach turn, and then it's ultimately not his fault. Like, it is, but it's not. He's sadistic. Because he'll say a thing that makes me say a thing that makes everybody want to throw up. It's like, oh, no, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. You did it, Cap. It's not my fault that your brain went there when I asked. It's very difficult, because it's not like I make ice cream or I'm really a cook or anything. So it's hard for me not to accidentally come up with something that is going to be just disgusting.
Yeah. He's an instigator, Mojo Froyo. And another longtime shtick character of ours. What is a super chat?
Oh, there he is.
Right.
I have finally been conditioned not to try to answer that question.
What is a super chat? Gives us $2. Says, what is the point? Artificial character progression.
What is the point of artificial character progression? Tricking the audience into thinking you're telling a story. That's the point of it. Now, that's the point of it if you're doing it intentionally. What I think tends to happen also is just telling a story backwards. Working backwards from a conclusion. Very often when you get what I call artificial character progression, that tends to be when a writer's room, because it especially happens in television and movies, where it can certainly happen with a singular writer, but sometimes you get too many cooks in a kitchen, and sometimes the problem is collaboration, where this is the risk you take when lots of people are trying to tell a story together. They go, they're coming up with an outline for something, they're breaking the story, and they go, what are we going to have this character do next to get him to the place that we have decided he will get to? And it is possible to have that worked out and still make it character-driven and plan it in such a way where it's harder, it's trickier, but this is what Breaking Bad did to some degree. Oh, that's not fair, because Breaking Bad didn't know where all the characters were going to go, but I can't think of great examples right now, but it is certainly possible to go, this is where we want this person to be at the end. Whatever happens, that's where they'll be, but be savvy enough to make me buy all roads end up leading there. Artificial character progression, or at least when I can sniff it out, is, well, that person just did that thing because you decided that's what was going to happen, not because I actually buy their motivations and their thought process and the decisions that led them there.
There you have it. Mutale, Cap and DJ, how much of you guys is because of nature over nurture, or vice versa? And Zaslav said The Flash is the best superhero movie he's ever seen. I love the pairing of those two without any punctuation.
Grain of salt with everything. Let me start with that second thing because it's wonderfully absurd. Now, look, the movie's not out yet. maybe I'll feel the same way. I doubt it. Looking at visual effects don't make a movie. I mean, you could have a great script and you could have some dodgy effects, but that looks like a somewhat thrown together movie, and with some of the effect shots and stuff. I've looked at some stills and I'm just like, I don't understand how your movie is that expensive. And also, you had a lot of time to fix things. That movie was supposed to come out, what, last summer? And I think it would have been late even if it came out then. Am I right about that? Or I asked Austin this earlier and he couldn't tell me. Are we to like New Mutants lateness at this point on this movie?
New Mutants lateness is a great I don't know, it's a great adjective.
I'm gonna put that on a t-shirt. Yeah. Sorry I'm late. I was being New Mutants.
That's just like the worst insult for someone who's always late that you can give them. Just call them New Mutants.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You're either the 2017 Power Rangers movie where you just can't morph and you're that late, or you're New Mutants.
Or you live long enough to become the New Mutants.
Wow, that is a depressing state of things, if that's the case. So yeah, what I was going to say about the Zaslav thing is it's easy to assume that he and Gunn and those guys are talking about it being brilliant because they really need it to do well at the box office, and that maybe they're not talking about the other DC movies that are coming out this year like that because they don't believe in them, that they don't believe that people are jazzed about them in the first place, and they're just writing them off because the assumption is the slate has been announced and we know we're moving on from that and we're rebooting and we can make Flash look like a natural soft reboot into all of that, so we got to tout it up as wonderful. At the same time, Gunn at least tends to speak his mind, and I have a hard time buying that he doesn't actually at least believe some of what he's saying. Like, I honestly think he likes that movie. He might be being a bit hyperbolic about it. And even if it comes out and it turns out to be really awful, he still might like it to some degree, because I have personally talked to creators like in the comic industry and actors and stuff that love things that I don't understand how they could like them based on their own standards for making art. Where it's like, you don't hold... Like, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, so I'm not going to name any names, but I've talked to people, especially in the comic industry, I've talked to people where I'm like, you love this thing that is so beneath the work you do. But so I guess you don't hold things to your own standards, or you just don't see it in the things that you're entertained by, where it's like, for you, and I respect this, it's like, for you, the things that you make sure are there to make your thing great, you don't have to enjoy a piece of entertainment. And that could be going on with Gunn, where it's like, he could be, we haven't seen the movie yet, he could be a better storyteller than the people making this movie, and it might still be like super corporate and everything in formulaic and whatever in the way that it's put together, or just really pandery in its what am I trying to say, in like the nostalgia grab and all of that, but there might be something in all of that that just speaks to him on a level that he can't articulate, and he goes, this movie is great. I don't know, but when he says it, I think there's got to be some truth to it. When Zaslav says it, who knows? That could just be corporate, I'm trying to make sure that it makes money.
I would totally believe you if you told me that it was the first superhero movie Zaslav has ever seen. Maybe it is.
Yeah, sure. So, this is what everybody... Or maybe, no, even worse. Maybe the last one he saw was 89. Back in 89, you see. That's possible.
And then he's like, and then when Aquaman comes out, he's like, oh, now I've seen Aquaman. This is the best superhero movie I've ever seen.
What is... I really like the idea that with what you're saying, that he actually didn't watch any of the other movies, including Batgirl.
Well, he watched like 5 minutes. It was like, oh, this looks cheap. Can it?
Can't have that. Fast forward through it. Yep, this looks awful. What was the first totally unrelated question in that? How
much of us is because of nature over nurture?
I mean, that's always the $100,000 question, right? Like, I don't know if I can psychoanalyze it. Have you had Have you really thought that through with yourself, where you can where you think anyway that to any degree you can pare down, okay, I'm like this because of genetics and I'm like this because of environment?
Yeah, I've thought about that quite a bit. Obviously we never know, but it's nice to analyze yourself. I mean, that's just a healthy thing to do, is to look at what you get from your parents, because whether it's nature or nurture, it's both coming from your parents. So if you see things you don't like, that you don't want to emulate, then the best thing to do is analyze it and think and have it on your mind. You can't fight against it if you don't at least acknowledge it and think about it. And also things you
Yeah.
do like and you want to. I watched a really cool documentary on this that I recommend, called Three Identical Strangers. It's like 2018. It was a while ago. It actually came out the same year that Won't You Be My Neighbor came out. Because I remember both those documentaries being really cool. But it's about three identical twins that were separated at birth, and they found each other in like college
I heard
age.
about that, but I never saw it.
Really cool documentary that explores nature versus nurture, and because they weren't raised together and they were a part of this weird social experiment when they were babies. I don't want to give too much away, but yeah, it's really cool.
I have a hard time not assuming that a lot of the things that I understand, if I do at all, and recognize in myself aren't all environmental and because of the way I was raised, and some percentage just based on the fact that I was the oldest of my siblings. And I've always thought that that has a lot to do with my sense of responsibility and all of that. I was kind of forced to make some pretty serious decisions when I was maybe too young to make them, and that makes you grow up kind of fast. And so a lot of the character traits I see in myself that either remind me of my parents or I can kind of recognize might be or almost certainly because of things that happen in my situation. I don't see a lot of genetics immediately, but I don't know that anybody does. Like there's not. It's sort of like the documentary where you're talking about, where maybe there's some inherent habitual stuff that I get from my mom or my dad, but I would almost have to like not know them and then meet them as an adult before I would know any of that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
like if, for instance, if a person has a temper, does that come from being raised by somebody with a temper, so you're accidentally emulating them, or it's the only way you know how to respond to a situation because that's how your parents did that with you? Or would you still have said temper if you weren't raised by them because one of them just inherently genetically has that? Like, it's very difficult to know. And at the end of the day, maybe it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's what it's fun to think about, but at the end of the day, only one of those two things is helpful to you. Like, because if it's genetics, then you can't do anything about it, then why think about it? Like,
Yeah.
don't think about it. That frame your mind that it is something you can do about, because that's the only thing you can do. Like, it's like the whole like, I don't know. We're getting off on another tangent, but like, I don't know. I like to frame things in a way where I can actually where I have power to actually do something about it, instead of trying to fight nature. I don't want to, because that's just a closed. I don't know, but that's a headspace that's not healthy, I don't think.
Although I would argue that there's a middle of the road thing potentially, where maybe you're genetically predisposed to do certain actions, but if you knew that about it, or if you, maybe it doesn't even matter if you know if it came from nature or nurture, but you simply are self-aware and realize that about yourself, maybe there's still a choice you can make.
Yeah, yeah,
you know? And so
absolutely.
if it is genetics, maybe you're predisposed, but that doesn't mean that you can't. It might be very difficult, and you might have to go to therapy, or you might have to do a lot of practice. Fake it till you make it. But you might be able to condition yourself or break yourself of something, of a habit you don't like about yourself, or a character trait you don't like about yourself that you're genetically predisposed to having. And I think sometimes we're our own worst critics, and we might have something like that we don't like about ourselves, but is actually not bad and is too much of a part of who we are. Maybe we shouldn't change it. And that can be difficult to decide.
Yeah, that's true too. Very cool topic, Mitali.
It's just, I
Couched
think it's
in a
important
Zaslav question.
I think it's hard and important at the same time to find that balance between uh, being self-aware and like really understanding yourself and not overly psychoanalyzing yourself. You know?
You don't want to be too in your head all the time.
Yeah, and sometimes I think it can be like not beneficial to know, in a weird way, to know too much about yourself or to know too much about why you do the things you do. I mean, I'm like this with creative process, right? Like, I think it can really affect your work sometimes if you think too much about the hows and whys of how you get there. If it works, it's kind of better to just do the process. So, like, there's a lot of and I feel this way too. I probably talk too much about my process with things. Like, I've heard a lot of writers and directors and people talk about not really wanting to get too much into the way they do things, and life might be that way to some degree too. Mm-hmm. We have 25 minutes left in the show if we carry this out to a full 2 hours. How many more Super Chats do we have left?
We have about 6. 7.
Would you find us a really good pre-written question before we move on to the Super Chats then?
Sure.
Sorry, I threw a wrench in it.
Let me give 1 second here. Really good one. Really, really stumper. Really.
I'm grading you, DJ.
Okay. Well, this one is very for you. And I saw someone else said, "Oh, Bob, that's a really good question," when he posted this. So,
all right.
The chat thinks this is a good question, and this is very specifically tailored to you. Bob Garland, how would Cap handle a character or concept like Galactus in the Star Trek universe, and which crew would he want Star Trek Galactus to go up against?
What a neat idea. And, I get the crossover question all the time, like specifically, what would you cross with Star Trek? I've never had the Fantastic Four answer, and that's great. Like, that, it would be neat if Marvel and IDW could get together and do that. Like, they've done it with Green Lantern, with DC. They've had a good relationship with DC. I don't know if they've ever crossed with Marvel, where they've... I mean, with IDW. Star Trek has crossed with Marvel. It did 2 X-Men comics back in the 90s. But they did the Legion of Superheroes, which was quite good. Everybody likes that. And they did Green Lantern twice, which is gimmicky but fun. And I like especially that first one. But anyway, what was that called? Spectrum War, I think. But it never occurred to me that it would be really cool to do this with Fantastic Four and Galactus. I don't know what exact story I would tell with it. I mean, I think you would... The first thing that comes to mind that would make this challenging is not just making it kind of feel like the Borg again, although it might be interesting to parallel it with the Borg, where it's... And I just mean in the sense that it's this huge, unstoppable threat that comes to, specifically to Earth. Like, it comes at your planet because it wants to eat it or it wants to assimilate it. But it might be interesting to kind of parallel Galactus with the Borg, where here's the reason... Both of these are forces of nature. One of them needs to assimilate people and technology to perfect itself, to better itself. The other one thinks that it is already perfect, but is inherently a walking or flying, however you want to look at it, contradiction, because it says... Maybe it's unfortunate, Galactus is a very cold character. Maybe it's unfortunate that I have to destroy all these people and things to survive, but I am a god, I am better than they are, and I need nourishment in order to survive. And then the question with Galactus is, okay, if the only reason you are eating is to survive and you don't do anything for the galaxy or the universe at large, what is the point of you? Aren't you just a parasite at that point? And the Borg feels like a parasite that then turns you into them. And Galactus destroys you so that he can just keep on trucking. Which of those is scarier? So it would be interesting to parallel those two things. As far as what crew would be most interesting to go up against Galactus, that seems like a good TNG threat to me. And I feel like you already have it a little bit with the Crystalline Entity. The Crystalline Entity, to some degree, is kind of like a Galactus. And I guess the most comparable thing besides Crystalline Entity to Galactus is like the Doomsday Machine in TOS. I don't know why I've never thought to put Galactus in the Star Trek universe in that way, but that is, for my money, comment of the stream, by the way. I love that question.
There you go. I did it. I picked a good one, guys.
Oh, you get an A for that. I said I'd grade you. You get an A+ for that choice. That was awesome. See, if we hadn't gone to pre-written and we only did super chats, I never would have gotten to talk about that. That was really great.
There you go. Thanks, Bob. All right.
Thank you, Bob. Bob, you are my number one, a guy. Because he's Bob, DJ. That was Batman '89 reference.
I did get that one.
Oh, you did? Okay, all right. Good.
Of course. I've seen it once, and I've seen you talk about it 17 times.
Only 17? That's disappointing.
Ian Chandler, $5. Whoa. What do you do? Oh, okay. You got the Batwing out again. What is a game and movie?
Just trying to throw you off.
Well, you're succeeding. What is a game and movie that
Are you allergic to kryptonite?
Not that I know of.
Oh, okay.
Am I man or Superman? What is a game and movie that you like but is disliked by most people? For me, it's the Tick Genesis game and Mystery Men.
Hey, I'm with you on the Tick Genesis game.
You said I played that game a ton.
I think people like Mystery Men.
I don't know how highly regarded it is. I know it just got a 4K release from Kino Lorber with a nice.
I'll see if I can get my hands on that. I have to do a rewind on that in the not too distant future because that was requested last year for a revisit, and I'm doing the commentary form of this now regularly, but I will still front load those as commentaries. The Shadow is the first of those. I don't know. People are asking me, by the way, when I'm going to get to the Shadow because I announced it and I haven't done it yet, and I'm thinking probably next month, if not the month after, because I want to make sure and start giving people the opportunity to request these, but I also have to get to those. So anyway, maybe I'll do a full month of them, or maybe I don't even know if I can do that now because I'm going to have, movies that are related to stuff that's time sensitive coming out. So anyway, we'll see how that goes, but I'll try to get those knocked out this year. Sorry, that has nothing to do with anything. A game or a movie, or do we have to come up with one of each?
He says both.
Okay. A game and a movie that other people don't like that we do. I'm with you on the Tick Genesis game. Like I said, it is kind of objectively a bad game, but it's not as unplayable as a lot of people like. I mean, I've beaten it multiple times. It is too long. It is redundant. It's got weird hit detection, and it's really only worth playing, especially because there's plenty of better beat-em-ups. It's really only worth playing if you really like the source material because it's got lots of neat references, and it's one of the weirdest blends of two different iterations of something. Because if you really know your Tick, you'll go, okay, this has the soundtrack and a lot of characters from the animated series, but then it's got all this comic book stuff. And it's one of the only things I've ever seen do that, where it just includes all these comic book characters that weren't in the show at all. And that's really neat that it's got just so much of the early Edlin stuff. So yeah, that's the first video game actually that comes to my mind. And I probably would have given you that answer even if you hadn't said it. I'll see if I can come up with something else as well. Throw something out, DJ.
What I did was I went to my top 100 list on Letterboxd and I sorted it by highest average rating and lowest average rating.
Wish I had that kind of organization.
So like, there's a lot of movies that I really, really like that have like three, like I like Incredible Hulk and it has a 2.5 on Letterboxd.
That's weird. I think it's better than that.
I really like Paperman. That has a 3. I really like Day in Real Life. That has a 3.2. I really like It's a Disaster. That's one of my favorite comedies. It only has a 3.2 on Letterboxd. That's a crime. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of things. Kronos is one of my favorite Guillermo del Toro movies. It's his first debut film, and it only has a 3.4 on Letterboxd, which is a travesty because it's a great movie. Watch Kronos, everybody.
But you're looking at your top 100, so there are probably movies that have a way lower score that you actually like, right?
Maybe. I don't know. 2.5 is super low for Incredible Hulk. But
that's fair. But I mean, I like movies that get 1s and 1.5s.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there's something like that.
My go-to for this has always been that first Hitman movie. I like that movie. I haven't watched it in a long time. I don't care what anybody says. Nobody likes that movie. There are obviously other things that just aren't immediately coming to mind. I'm trying to think of I don't, I'm blanking. I'm trying to think of other video games too, because my big one's always been Bubsy, which is just not a good game, but I grew up with it. It's near and dear to my heart from when I was a kid.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, with games, you gotta have a bunch of those because you just played whatever you had as a kid, whatever you had access to. It doesn't matter what it was. I played the freaking Space Jam game on PlayStation 1 at my grandma's house like all the time.
We talked about that. Now, the generation growing up now isn't going to have that experience.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of things are free to play. A lot of the things the generations growing up with now, they don't tend to be as much console gamers. I mean, there's certainly a lot of Nintendo stuff, but you can look at, first of all, there's not the rental culture, and second of all, it's much easier to look at reviews and videos and get a sense of if you're going to like a thing before you even look at it. So I don't know. We're in this curated culture now where if you play a thing and hate it, it tends to be because either you just don't pay attention to anything and you just try stuff, which more power to you, or you go way against the grain of whatever the consensus is. Where you go, I don't know why everybody likes this. I didn't actually enjoy it. And then if you talk about it, people might say that you have a bad take.
There we go. Ask us what our hot takes are.
Cinematographic, there were a couple of Space Jam games. But the better basketball game to play with Looney Tunes in it is Looney Tunes B-Ball on the Super Nintendo, which is wonderful. And was the reason I bought Space Jam on the Saturn, because I figured, oh, well, surely they'll look at that fantastic model they had in the first place and just kind of port that to 3D. Nope! That is not what happened there!
You can also play as Mario, Peach, and Luigi in NBA Street Volume 3, which I played the crap out of.
You know what? I finally got a copy of that not too long ago, but I haven't played it much. Wasn't that on the GameCube?
Yeah, that's why you can play as Mario characters.
Yeah.
All right. This is a fun one. Mutale, worst comic book movie director, Mark Steven Johnson or Goyer?
So I feel like we're being almost unfair to Goyer in asking this question because he only got one stab at it.
Yeah, and
Mark Steven Johnson made two. And I don't think Johnson is the worst director in the world, but I feel like he's kind of a TV director that's working in the movie world. I mean, he's one of these guys, right, that was doing music videos and then ended up making movies and making these big budget things that were kind of a little too ambitious for just his experience. I think if Johnson had another 5 years and got to make some smaller movies and not just music videos, he might have, his Daredevil and his Ghost Rider might have looked better. I think in some ways his Ghost Rider looks better than his Daredevil. In other ways, it does not.
Well, in some ways, looking like a music video is good for those two movies.
That's true. But music videos aren't about realism. Or I shouldn't say realism, but
I wouldn't say those movies are either.
That's my point, is that music videos aren't always about making things look integrated like it's really there. And that's not always important for a music video. And with those movies, it kind of was. You know, it doesn't have to be realistic, but you want to buy what you're seeing being in the same frame with whatever you're looking at. And the villains in Ghost Rider did not have that.
Ghost Rider looked great, though, for 2007.
Ghost Rider himself looked great. I would say that that's as good as what Ang Lee's Hulk looked like.
But yeah, I haven't seen Blade 3, but I would have to give it to Goyer just because, I mean, that's not really fair. That's like a mess of a movie where the main actor didn't like him, and there was a whole bunch of problems with
you're comparing a guy who made his career directing versus a guy who made his career writing and then took a stab at it. It would be like saying, who's the better director? I'm trying to think of an example beyond the first thing I'm thinking of, but like go back to Star Trek Nemesis, like Stuart Baird, take him and another guy who makes not great movies but is a director. Like, it's not fair. It's like, let's say, who's the guy who directed X-Men 3? who I'm always complaining about.
Brett Ratner.
Brett Ratner. Let's say, Brett Ratner or Stuart Baird. Well, Stuart Baird is one of the greatest editors of movies who ever lived. He edited Superman. He edited a lot of the Bonds. But he directed one of the worst Star Trek movies in Nemesis because he didn't know anything about Star Trek, and the studio was doing him a favor because he always wanted to direct a movie, so he got that movie. Now, he shouldn't have done that, and I don't like that movie, and I certainly give him a lot of the credit for that movie not being very good, but would it be fair to compare him to somebody like Brett Ratner? No.
But it's not fair to compare anyone to Brett Ratner because it's just mean to whoever it is.
Anyway, so I don't mean to give you a cop-out answer, but I think ultimately I have to go to Goyer just because I don't think it's fair to compare him to anybody. All right, moving right along.
An animal all his own. Brightburn, 1985, and I love this question because I think he is unaware of the history of this question.
Oh.
And he's just asking it sincerely.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I saw that one. Go ahead.
Hey, Cap. Do you guys dislike pineapple and or mushrooms on pizza as much as other people do? By the way, I'm Batman.
Oh, is that true? Daniver says Nemesis was actually Baird's third film. Okay, well then screw Stuart Baird as a director. Never mind. Stay in the editing bay, Stuart Baird. Maybe his other two movies are good and he just doesn't know anything about Star Trek. And he definitely doesn't know anything about Star Trek. And he kept calling LeVar Burton Laverne and...
Wow.
Or something. But yeah, he insulted LeVar Burton very hard. And it wasn't Laverne. What was it he called him?
Did he say
anyway.
Lamar? Maybe Lamar Burton?
No. He called him a girl's name. I know that's a thing.
Wow.
So
do you like pineapple and mushrooms on pizza?
I used to. I don't eat pizza anymore. I haven't had pizza in 2 years.
Or so do you dislike pineapple and mushrooms?
Yeah,
I don't get the mushrooms thing. How could you dislike mushrooms? They're just like...
a lot of people don't like mushrooms. I think it's a texture thing for a lot of people. But...
Because they're soft, maybe?
And slimy.
But they're covered in cheese. I don't know. They don't taste that slimy when they're on pizza.
Well, I think a lot of people that won't eat mushrooms on a pizza is because they've had them on other things and they don't like it on other things. Because I'm with you. Mushrooms don't really affect the taste too much on a pizza, depending on what else is on it, if it's flavorful.
Yeah, the only reason I hate pineapple is just because you can't, disguise pineapple. It's going to crunch and shoot juice into your mouth when you bite into that part of the pizza. But mushrooms kind of just blend in with everything.
And I like pineapple on everything, so I was a big pineapple on a pizza guy. And I still eat a lot of pineapple, but I don't eat pizza. And you'd think I'd miss it. I kind of don't. I mean, I was a big pizza guy, man. I ate it all the time. But my system just cannot handle it anymore.
Yeah.
I have a not great, not to get TMI or anything, but I have a not great digestive system. And I was kind of ballooning up, too, just as I was getting older. And that combination made me go... just for anybody that hasn't heard me say this, I'm going to finally be an adult and just stop eating things that my body doesn't want. Like, I've had people, it's weird, you'll mention to people things you don't eat, and they'll just immediately start making assumptions about you. Like, oh, you must have some kind of aversion to... like animal products, or it must be a moral thing, or it must be a religious thing, or whatever it is. People are like highly sensitive about stuff that people do that is different from them, or just we like to put people in boxes and label people, and they go, well, if you don't eat very much meat and you're closer to a vegetarian, because I'm not a vegetarian. I eat chicken and I eat fish, and eggs, but that's the only meat products I eat. And people will immediately put you in a box. Well, you must be on this side of the political aisle then, or you must have this sort of morality or whatever. And I'm like, isn't it possible that I just have a real crap immune system that can't deal with beef and cheese? Because that's true. And also, even if it was a moral thing or whatever, it's kind of none of your business. But that's not what it is. And I just think it's weird that people make assumptions like that.
Yeah, it's very weird that people think they are entitled to that information. Like, just because you say I don't eat this, you're like, oh, why not? I mean, like, they just like you have to tell your whole life story. Maybe he just doesn't like it. I don't know. Who cares? Just let him eat what he wants to eat.
And not to throw anybody to the bus or anything, because I get what people tend to do is have a hard time putting themselves in other people's shoes. and they think, well, if you don't eat these things that I love, that you used to eat and love, you must not be as happy as you used to be. I've gotten this from people. Well, why don't you live a little? Can't you do it occasionally? And I'm like, living a little means suffering. You know what I mean?
Also,
like, okay, so I get to taste
relative...
the pizza for a second, and yay, that's nice. And then I have a stomach ache for the next 3 hours. That's not worth it. I'll just pivot to something that I like, that I still really like, but doesn't F up my stomach.
I hate the term "live a little" is the dumbest expression ever, because it's the most relative phrase you can ever use, because live a little means something completely different to every single human being. Like, what is living to you is not living to the other person. Like, I don't understand. Maybe living to me is, I don't know, not having heart disease when I'm 40, living to see my grandkids. I don't know. Especially for some reason, food is such a big thing. Foodies cannot understand when food is just fuel to me. Like, I'm not a foodie. Like, I don't really care. Whatever's quickest, cheapest, and healthiest, just let me get it done, scarf it down, and then go do something else on the rest of my lunch break. Foodies cannot understand that. They're like, what food? Like, that's everything. Like, especially my wife. My wife loves food. She's not judgy like this, but she just loves food. And people who love it are so passionate about food. It's like, you're not living if you don't try all these foods. I'm like, I am living. I'm doing the things I love. I'm just not eating the foods you like. I don't know.
That's a great point. This is very interesting. First of all, Austin came in and says, smoke crack. Come on, live a little. Yeah.
Exactly. Where's the line? Like, everyone does different things with their time.
It's really interesting to me that you can make the exact same argument, DJ, for or against eating healthy. You can say, why do you have to eat healthy? You only live once. And you could also, on the other side, say, you really should eat healthy. You only live once, right? That same statement means the complete opposite in each context.
Yeah, because if you only live once, you want to live the best life you can.
And understand, I get and sometimes share both of those both of those feelings, right? Like yeah, I take risks. I'm not always super healthy about things, but overall, I'm living a lot healthier because I could just kind of see the writing on the wall and where I was going to go if I didn't, you know. And I've got responsibilities. I've got kids. It was affecting my day to day, and I just couldn't have that anymore. So I finally started going to bed and sleeping, you know. And I stopped eating stuff that my system was not happy with, and I started working out every day and lifting weights. And this is not a judgment against anybody who chooses not to do those things. All I can do is give you my personal experience and explain the reasons that I got to the place that I got to. And it's not like I didn't hear people my whole life giving their own testimony of how they got to a place where they had to start eating, you know, being healthier and exercising and, you know, living smarter and all of that. But a lot of people, I would say the majority of people, are not going to be motivated enough just by other people's personal testimony. You've got to get there yourself. And that's what finally happened with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course, no judgment at all for people who just don't care about that. You don't have to. Like, I don't care at all. I don't judge people for what they eat at all. It's just weird. And this is more from my past. I'm not exactly this way anymore, and I don't get this as much. But I used to be known as that guy who, like, didn't eat unhealthy things. And you get way more judgment for eating healthy because people feel like guilty, and they feel
guilty.
They just immediately assume that you are judgmental of them for what they eat. I mean, I don't care. Whatever you want. I just you ask me what I want to eat. That's what I'm telling you.
People can get really insecure about it. And that's why I don't like to talk about this too much with friends and family unsolicited.
Oh yeah. I felt anytime someone brought it up, I was like, I don't want to talk about this. Cause then you guys are just telling me, oh, come on, what's wrong with this? And then I'm like, I don't feel like I need to defend myself. I just be eating what I want to eat.
Yeah, or if I talk about how much better I'm feeling and how well it's going for me, I mean, it was really game changing. I get a lot more done during the day. I feel a lot better. I think I look a lot better, and you start you start talking really positively about it, and you sound like you're proselytizing.
Yeah, I'm not trying to
But, like,
evangelize you.
No, not at all. But
Talk about my experience.
when I was on the other side of it, even you, DJ, like when you would talk about how you used to eat too much and you had to get smarter about it, and you know, how much healthier you are and everything. It's hard when you know you're not doing that to not feel insecure about it. And I did, certainly with you and Vince after he lost a ton of weight and got into, you know, health culture and working out a lot and that kind of thing. I would simultaneously feel I'm so happy for you, and also go, God, I don't know if I even have that in me. And it just makes you feel insecure. It makes you feel guilty. But like that's not me saying you did that on purpose.
Yeah.
You know, like that was also no judgment against you, but it was just, but I'm just saying that I understand people that also feel that way when I talk about it now, like getting on the other side of it. It's like, yeah, it's a big hump to get over. And if it's not worth it to you, it's not worth it to you. I think the worst thing you can do, and some people might not agree with this, and I don't want to give unsolicited advice, but DJ, I feel like for a lot of people anyway, the worst thing you can do is, or one of the worst things you can do is make yourself slim way down, eat a lot healthier when you're not ready to do that yet. If you do it for the wrong reasons, there's no way you're going to maintain it, and you'll feel so much worse when you fall off the wagon again.
Yeah, that's kind of why I just don't even want to talk about it. It's just kind of a personal thing, because it just, like, yeah, it can get misinterpreted so easily. So I'm happy for you, man. I'm glad you're doing well. I'm glad you're feeling good. Can't wait to see those abs in the movie, in the Superhero Rewind movie.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to where, like, I've got a six-pack or whatever, but I am getting a lot closer to a place where I don't think I would be embarrassed if somebody, like, walked in on me with my shirt off or something. Because I was in a place for years and years and years where I wouldn't go to, like, you know, a municipal swimming pool or anything.
Wow.
You know,
Which
like,
is
I didn't.
crazy.
When I saw Dan back in 2019, we went to the beach together, and he wanted to go down to the beach and swim, and I was like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not gonna take my shirt off in front of you, Dan. Like, I'm in terrible shape. And you remember how insecure I was about it when I went and saw you the first time, when we were like jumping on the trampoline together and that kind of thing. Like, I didn't want to do any physical activity in front of people.
Yeah, well, now we can finally do the swimming on camera video.
I would have exactly. I would have no problem with that now. In fact, the only thing I would be at all not aware, what's the word I'm looking at, self-conscious about, would be the tattoos, just because occasionally you'll run into somebody that's kind of weirded out by that.
Is that a Power Rangers tattoo?
No, nobody has ever asked me that, because nobody on the planet knows what this is.
That's true. Is that some kind of tribal symbol?
Oh, it's Japanese!
I don't know what voice I'm doing right now, but I just invented it. Guy who hates Cap's tattoos.
Hey, I'm the guy that hates Cap's tattoos!
Is that purple thing on your arm a male or a female? Neither. It's from Knights.
It's androgynous! DJ, how many more super chats do we have? Because we are past 2 hours now. We've talked too much about health. We did the health section.
3, 4, 5. 5. Let's rapid fire these.
Mutali said, sorry, let me read this real quick if I could. The tattoos will make Cap seem edgier than he is. Not the ones I have.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, that guy must be, Bubbles tattoo.
I have the kind of tattoos that would have gotten you beat up back in high school. Well, he got tattoos before he's legally able to, but they're like Star Trek and stuff. What a mook!
I want to meet the person who is intimidated by an edgy Bubbles tattoo. That would be great.
Okay, but have I told you the story about that?
No.
I went to a mall. Was it when I was with you? No, I was with Jason in Florida, and we went into a watch store, and the guy managing the watch store saw my Bubbles tattoo because I was wearing shorts. That's the thing I also never used to do, and I'm comfortable enough wearing shorts now, and I would be even more so than I was last summer, but I was wearing shorts last summer because I got the Bubbles tattoo, and nobody was ever going to see it if I didn't wear shorts, and what's the point? It was, not a cheap tattoo, so I was wearing shorts, and it was hot, And this guy goes, "You've got a Powerpuff Girls tattoo. That's tough." I feel like I've told this story on camera before.
That's tough. Did you?
Robert says Knuckles is peak edgy. I'm actually thinking about finally. I never wear muscle shirts, and I'm thinking about finally maybe actually doing a couple, like getting one and doing a couple strings. Especially if I can come up with a really cool geeky muscle shirt.
You mean like a tank top?
Yes, a tank top.
Yeah.
Just so that people, that's what I mean, sorry. Just so that people can see the tattoos further up my arm, because a lot of people never see these. Like, I have the Nightfall tattoo, and a lot of people don't even know about that one because it's so far up my arm.
I have a Captain America tank top. I'll loan it.
I thought you were going to say tattoo. I'm like, no, you don't. I know this about you. I took a picture at one point. I didn't post it anywhere, but I took a picture before I got a couple of these, at least before I got the, this one's hard to show, but the Kryptonian one.
I like all the weird distorted things you have to get into in order to show them. It's like you're directing airplanes.
I took a picture where I put my leg up so that you could see the Bubbles tattoo, and I went like this, and I sent it to Austin, and he photoshopped me on top of a motorcycle. Because I was trying to get a picture where you can see most of my tattoos, and it's not possible to get a picture where you can see all of them because I've got the ones under my arms. But
when you do the trailer for your superhero rewind movie, you should quote Sony and be like, "We're not effing around.
We're not effing around." Man, that one's really difficult to get on camera.
You should that should be the logo for Superhero Rewind the movie. The R is like the rating R. Because it's rated R. Because we're not effing around.
We're not effing around. Okay, sorry. Let's rapid fire the last 5.
Real quick, AMC Comics.
I'm not stripping on camera, Robert.
AMC Comics says, quote, "When we were jumping on the trampoline, quite possibly the most random aside ever said on Geekvolution." If you haven't seen the video, join the Patreon, because there is a video floating around out there.
Well, there is. It's
of
true.
us doing it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
But Jonathan, not swimming on camera. We haven't done that yet.
Not yet, but my neighborhood does have a pool, so maybe next time. Now, I'm in a different neighborhood now. We didn't have a pool.
DJ, if we can get a weekend slated and still make it happen, you and your family have got to come here.
That's true. That's true.
We've been talking about it, and maybe that's when we'll finally swim on camera. Maybe we can go to like an indoor pool or something.
Yeah. Austin, all of your messages keep getting blocked. I have to keep showing them, so stop using vulgar language. Jonathan Campbell, $5. Cap, I regret to inform you that one of your co-hosts has been a Skrull for the past 2 years. You must find and take out this imposter.
It's Austin.
Who is it?
It's Austin. It's absolutely Austin.
Yeah, well, he's been obvious about his ambitions to tank the
He's a crap skull is the thing, and I don't want no Skrulls.
Don't want no Skrulls.
Definitely Austin.
All right, Austin, you've been outed. Your move. Our balls are in your court. T-Edge 1, $2.
Could you never say that again?
Sorry. That was an office quote. That was not a friend's quote.
Okay.
T-Edge 1,
okay,
$2.
sorry, I didn't know that was a quote. It hit me sideways and frontways and... sorry, go ahead.
Frontways and backways.
Backways.
Any other ways you can think of. $2. Have you seen the Superhero Hour episodes of Mythbusters?
No, but I appreciate all the random capital letters for no reason in that super chat.
He's really trying to get it in the $2 range.
I know, but some of the letters were capitalized for no reason in the middle of words.
Well, he spelled "have you seen" CEN.
That's true too.
I think he was trying to get that onto there. Anyway, Checkers the Inventor, $5. The movie ends with a 5-minute passionate monologue of Kevin Sugihara telling Joss Whedon he will go down as the greatest director of all time. He's still talking about his pitch for the Justice League boardroom movie.
Yeah, that would be an ironic prediction. No, that's great compared to Air, because Air is just constantly hitting you in the face with Michael Jordan is going to make us a ton of money, and we can put all our eggs in that basket because the lead guy can see the future and knows exactly what's going to happen.
Austin says, I'm an MCU scroll. I'm a nice refugee. Don't be racist.
Oh, okay. So he is a Skrull, but he's not. So like he's not
evil.
infiltrating. He just hasn't revealed until now that he's a Skrull because, for the same reason I don't eat much meat. It's like it's none of your business, really.
The great and powerful Dodd. 199. Interested
Thanks, man.
in Superman Last Days of Lex Luthor?
I hadn't heard about this.
Hmm.
I am not keeping up with current comics if that's a current comic.
Last Days of Lex Luthor.
So is that going to be like a Lex Luthor The End kind of thing? And is it the kryptonite ring that is killing him? I am curious about that just based on title alone. Feel free to send me a message somewhere. Tell me more about that. Or I'll look it up.
All right. Let me go here to John Ty next.
Yeah, we will finish up here real quick. Do we just have one more left, or?
2 left. John Ty Mutale.
All right, cool.
$5. With how the culture is evolving at a rapid pace with everything, are you starting to feel like Cap from Winter Soldier?
No, because to some degree, I was going to say no because I haven't been, frozen in ice for 50 years.
Well, after we go to our private island where we can't get spoiled on movies, then we'll feel like that when we come back.
I will say I do sometimes feel like that, where I'm not keeping up with a lot of the things in the culture as much. And full disclosure, I'll go out in public sometimes and get a little bit like anxious and unsure about talking to people just because I sometimes feel like I don't live in the same world that everybody else lives in. But I think that's a phenomenon that's happening more and more with people for the same reason that we've been talking about DJ, it being difficult to like understand if there's a consensus or what how people are feeling about things. It's the echo chamber thing where it's like, I don't know if you live in the same world I live in. There's not just 3 channels on TV anymore. Everybody's not watching the same things. We don't have the touchstones that we used to, and people are so splintered and like politics are so divisive, et cetera, that it has become really easy for people to just kind of do their own thing, and it's less risky to talk to people for fear that you're going to get into some stupid argument about something. And it's less that for me, though, and more just, I don't think I'm into a lot of the stuff that, like, some of it's getting older, certainly, but like, I'm not watching a lot of TV anymore. Most of the movies I see are just for the channel and stuff. And beyond just popular culture, like, I don't keep up with sports for the most part. I don't keep up with politics for the most part. I don't know what to talk to people about anymore.
The weather.
Yeah. So in that way, I guess I do to some degree.
Yeah. You just need a list, a little notebook like Cap had.
That probably sounds really sad and pathetic, I guess. I have a lot of friends, and I spend a lot of time with my family and my kids and stuff. And some of it too is just focusing on like my world, because my world has expanded, and I sometimes feel like I'm running a tiny colony as much as I'm running a family,
Yeah. Have you ever seen that movie Captain Fantastic? Is that what it's called? You're basically living that movie. Mutale, last super chat of the night. This is great that we're ending on this.
Oh no. Pineapple on a Pizza Part 2.
What's your favorite Eric look? Beard and long hair, or short hair and no beard?
Oh, I don't know. I think Eric looked good, clean shaven, and with he's like me. It was always extremes. But yeah, I think he looks good with the longer hair, and a lot of guys are going to that now, and I'm finding it looks good on a lot of us, honestly. It's kind of nice that it's not as taboo as it once was, decades ago, to literally let your hair down, or grow it out, and to have a beard and stuff. I certainly like it a lot better. I don't know that I'll ever go back. Like, I feel a lot more comfortable. I can't speak for Eric, but I feel a lot more comfortable in my own skin with it. I don't know if I'll ever go back. I also think I might have hit my peak of length until I cut it, because I haven't cut it in a long time. And I know that if you cut it, it will start growing again. But I think I might have hit that place where it doesn't grow anymore.
Yeah, maybe
Because
so.
it hasn't. It doesn't seem like it has. It definitely slowed down anyway.
And then the second part of that. Also, do you think Across the Spider-Verse could beat Mario?
No, there's not a universe where in the multiverse where that happens.
See if anything can beat Mario in the
Yes.
animated realm. Mario's
We'll
crazy
see.
right now.
We'll see how long it takes before anything beats Mario. Period. I mean, it's in the top 10, like highest grossing films within the amount of weeks it's been out. I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know all the things it's done. I know it's breaking a lot of records, especially for video games and animated movies.
Yeah, but I mean, it's
But
breaking records for movies too. So yeah, I don't see. I'm with you. I don't know when another animated movie will do it, but it might have to be another video game thing. Although Mario is so ubiquitous, maybe there's not another video game thing that could do that that's not Mario. I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely not going to be Across the Spider-Verse. Honestly, I don't think Across the Spider-Verse does as well as the first one, and it didn't do big box office numbers. I actually predict that movie will just make its money back. I actually think that. Or maybe it'll do a little bit better than that. I don't think it'll straight up bomb. I don't think it'll do as well as the first one. It does. There's not the buzz around it that I think it's going to be Lego Movie 2 all over again. There's not the buzz around it that there was with the first one. And people loved the Lego Movie and didn't go see the second one. And with this, the only people I hear talking about it are diehards that are really excited about whatever little glimpse of their favorite Spider-Man is maybe going to get 30 seconds in that movie. And it's not going to be able to ride the, like, No Way Home, or if this does really well, like, Flash train, because the kind of crossover with that is different. You know what I mean?
you just mean because it's like seeing actors again on
Yeah,
screen?
that's a bigger deal to mainstream public. You're not going to have as many people rush out to that because, like, Spider-Man, like whatever Spider-Man is being animated and translated into an animated film. You know, and honestly, I think Miles Morales had a lot more to do with the success of that first movie than the concept of multiverse. I don't know if the multiverse thing helps, hurts, or makes any difference with the second one.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I guess it is what everything's doing these days, so I guess it probably helps a little bit.
But it also could hurt it because it's what everything else is doing, right? You know what I mean? I honestly have no idea. Do you have any predictions for it?
No, I'm not keeping up with anything. I haven't watched a trailer or anything. I'm trying to know as little as possible because that's how I went into the first one.
Yeah, well, I know that, but I'm not really basing this on too much with things I know. I mean, I guess just the way people are talking about it, but
Yeah. But no, I don't know. I'm probably gonna watch it, which is more than I can say for most superhero movies this year.
well, I'm going to see all of them. I'm not excited about most of them, but I'm going to see all of them. I like Guardians 3, I'm marginally excited for just because I like that franchise. The trailers don't have me, cheering or nothing, but I like, I like that cast a lot, and I have liked that director with those movies. Two, I don't like as well as one, of course, but beyond that, I don't know. I mean, Flash is going to be interesting, but I'm not like super, chomping at the bit, excited to see it. Is there any other superhero movie this year to be like that
I feel
I
like
would be just stoked by? There's more that I'm kind of trepidatious about having to sit through.
I feel like a couple
Dreading
days,
a little bit. I'm dreading to have to sit through Blue Beetle. But I'm sorry. What were you
I feel like a few days, from knowing you for a while, I feel like a few days or a week before The Flash comes out, you'll start getting excited about it. And I think you should embrace that. I don't think you should feel bad about that.
That's not going to happen.
Really?
No, it's really not. Honestly, I don't have that because I'm seeing Keaton in the trailers, and I can't tell if he even wants to be there. Like, it's not the same as the Spider-Man thing was for a lot of big fans of that material. Like, I gotta say, the story is nonsense, but I was to some degree won over more than you and Dan and some other friends of mine with, like, Tobey Maguire's performance. It really surprised me. Like, there was a bit of a nostalgia kick and just I was impressed a little bit with some of the performances and stuff. I don't know if that'll happen with Keaton. Maybe it will. I hope it does. But that's different than I'm going to get excited to finally see him in the Batsuit again. That's not a thing I ever needed.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'd
be more excited if he made Founder 2. You know?
But he just plays another Founder. It's an anthology series.
No, he just plays the...
Just dress him up.
He just plays Ray Kroc in his 70s.
Just dress him up and he can play the Wendy's guy. Dave Thomas. Who's the Wendy's guy?
Dave Thomas. Yeah, very good.
Pulled that out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's impressive.
I think there should be a cinematic universe of all the because they had to know each other. All those guys who invented the the fast food joints in the 50s and 60s, they had to meet at some point.
There's got to be a story there, right?
Yeah.
It's a one-room drama set at a hotel convention, at a restaurant convention.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
12 angry managers.
12 angry franchisees. You just got
12 angry founders. There you go.
There you go. You just got Michael Keaton the whole time going, franchise. We get it, Michael Keaton. We get it, Ray Kroc. You're obsessed with franchise. The Golden Arches. It's America's church. Anyway.
We've done it.
And once again, we've done whatever this was.
Whatever this is.
Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you had a lot of fun. We certainly did. Nice eclectic assortment this time of questions. And we got through a bunch of random stuff, and I enjoyed that a great deal because we've been spending too long on the lead-in topic lately, and I want to get more back to brass tacks with this show. We'll still do lead-in topics quite a bit, I think, but I'm going to try to keep it more to the first 20 minutes or so at least. I wanted to say 10, but we had another 10 to 15 minute preamble today. What happens is DJ and I don't see each other all week, and then we get at the front of this show, and we don't get a chance to talk much before the show starts. So do you have this? I kind of forget there's a camera going.
Yeah, we'll just start talking, catching up, even though it's only been 2 days. But we don't really get to see each other except for this, so.
Well, you say 2 days. I mean, this is Tuesday. I haven't seen you since last Tuesday.
Yeah. I'm just meaning if we're going regular.
Yes.
Tuesday to Thursdays, 2 days, and then Thursday back.
But on a Tuesday show,
4 days
since Thursday. Yeah. And a lot of things can happen in 48 hours. Ask Jack Bauer. Actually, a lot of things for Jack Bauer happen in 24 hours, and then after that, he just sleeps the next day, I'm sure. Or he gets thrown in a Russian gulag, and that's no good. Well, are we done?
I got nothing else. I'm tapped. Unless you want to talk more about Froyo or Kraven. I did like something that when we were talking about not seeing...
You're craving some Froyo?
I'm craving some Froyo. He said or Alex Barron, when we were talking about not being thrilled for the superhero movies coming out this year, he said, you're not stoked about Kraven, but it's rated R.
It's rated R. We're not effing around.
Captain Logan Show. We're not effing around.
Oh, we need to make a promo. We really... It's the
That should have been the thumbnail.
We just bleep it. We're not... Oh, that's... See... This is why I should go back to letting you make the thumbnail. I made the one today because I'm trying to get better at thumbnails. I was like, and I'm trying to, not make DJ do everything. And I was like, DJ, I'll do the one today. And then, if it sucks, tell me, and then I won't do it next time. And I made it. And he was like, that looks good. And then you just came up with it, but you didn't know about the quote, so that wouldn't have happened anyway.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Right?
Until you brought that up on the show, because I don't look at news until you read it to me. That's how I get all my news.
That's how he gets his news. Well, you are. Despite the fact that this is a pseudo news program, it's not really. We talk about a thing at the beginning, and then if people bring up news, we talk about it. But despite that, you're not real informed. There's no way you could be.
Yeah, I'm out of touch. I'm Captain America in the pop culture realm these days.
You're out of touch. You got no power. Anyway, thanks for being here. That was a Transformers reference. Thanks for being here, everybody. Really appreciate it. And we will see you again on Thursday for another one. I was Captain Logan, and this was DJ Martinez. Bye, guys. Appreciate you.